In 2030, the world will look dramatically different due to multiple technological advancements. For example, human-like AI will likely become a reality. By 2030, there will be exponential improvements of computer processing power, voice recognition, image recognition, deep learning, and other software algorithms. Likewise, natural language processing technologies like GPT-3 are constantly being updated and surpassed. It will likely reach the point where artificial intelligence can pass the Turing test. This is a test where a human engages in a conversation with a machine and probes it with numerous questions. And if that machine can convince that person that it's human, it passes the test. This could quickly lead to AI-generated virtual assistants that have the capability to carry nuanced conversations with you. And later, this technology could carry over to characters in virtual worlds and video games. Number 2, 8K virtual reality headsets will become mainstream. By 2030, most VR screens will have 8K resolution, which has 4 times the number of pixels as 4K screens. When you view character models and objects up close with these devices, there will be zero visible pixelation, resulting in breathtaking detail and realism. Because of other equipment upgrades, VR games will have near zero latency and a wide field of view. Additionally, some haptic suits will become electrode meshes to maximize comfort and convenience. Number 3, brain interface devices will become mainstream. By 2030, most VR headsets could include the option for a brain-computer interface to record users' electrical signals, enabling actions to be directed by merely thinking about them. Headbands and wristbands with non-invasive sensors could become the preferred choices for mainstream brain-computer interface use. However, the immersive effects provided by brain-computer interfaces could be limited at this stage and only usable in specific situations. Nonetheless, they will provide increasingly more lifelike ways of interacting with virtual characters, objects, and environments in the metaverse. Number 4, the first quantum computers with 1 million qubits will emerge. By 2030, IBM and Google could each build quantum computers with 1 million qubits. This advancement will revolutionize how we solve optimization problems, train and run machine learning algorithms, and better understand the physical processes of nature down to the subatomic level. It will revolutionize areas such as artificial intelligence, financial modeling, drug development, weather forecasting, and cybersecurity. And by as soon as 2035, fully functional quantum computers could become available to the public, both in the cloud and as physical units. Number 5, 3D printed human organs will begin being used. By 2030, 3D printing will be used to construct living biological systems. Layer after layer of cells could be dispensed from printer heads and placed exactly where they're needed with microscopic precision. Initially, they construct simple components like blood vessels and tissues. Next, they would begin to print relatively simple organs. In the coming decades, they could eventually print the majority of the 78 organs in the human body. Number 6, artificial brain implants will restore lost memories. By 2030, it could become possible to replicate small areas of the brain with artificial brain implants in order to repair damage from Alzheimer's, strokes, or injuries. This also includes the restoration of lost memories. That's because these devices can mimic the electrochemical signals from regions like the hippocampus, which is involved in the consolidation of information from short-term to long-term memory. The device will work by effectively replacing damaged parts of the brain, predicting what those parts of the brain should do from microsecond to microsecond, and then allowing the transmission of brain signals between areas where there was once a gap. Through the 2030s and 40s, artificial brain implants will become increasingly more effective at replicating complex functions in the brain. Number 7, SpaceX's first crewed Mars mission will be successful. As early as 2024, SpaceX astronauts will launch into space and reach Mars by 2025. They will use the SpaceX Starship on the Super Heavy rocket to reach the planet. Additionally, they'll bring robots with them to perform activities like making basic materials and parts on Mars. After landing on Mars, the spacecraft would be loaded with methane-based rocket fuel that they could create on Mars to return to Earth. Number 8, the first version of the quantum internet could emerge. A quantum internet would use quantum signals instead of radio signals to send information. This type of internet would be primarily used to send data that can't be hacked or intercepted using conventional methods. In 2030, it may be possible to use a personal computer to transmit or access quantum encrypted information through a cloud-based quantum computer. The US Department of Energy has already unveiled its blueprint for a national quantum internet, and we may see a prototype for it by 2030. Number 9, a billion human genomes will be sequenced. By as early as 2025, DNA testing will be so cheap, fast, and routinely accessible that over a billion human genomes will be sequenced around the world. That's about 1/8 of the world's population. The quantity of genomic data will reach the exabyte scale, around the same size as the video file content of the entire YouTube website. This massive amount of data will make it easier than ever before to use artificial intelligence to identify multiple disorders linked to specific genes, including cognitive disorders. Since 75% of a person's IQ is attributed to genetic differences, the identification and exploitation of these genes could play a huge role in creating superintelligent humans in the coming decades. Number 10, human brain simulations could become possible. By as early as 2025, the exponential growth of data and information technology could make it possible to form accurate models of every part of the human brain and its 100 billion neurons. Although it could be possible to scan and map a complete human brain down to the neuron level, analyzing the enormous volumes of data it contains and using that to fully understand its workings will take much longer. Nonetheless, this major milestone will lead to innovative approaches to resolve most types of brain-related ailments. It could even help us in areas such as non-biological brain augmentation, using brain-computer interfaces to control virtual objects, and the transferring of memories from humans to machines and machines to humans. Number 11, terabyte internet speeds will be commonplace. By 2030, 6G could replace 5G. Some experts estimate that it could be 100 times faster than 5G, which equates to 1 terabyte per second. At that speed, you could download 142 hours of Netflix movies in 1 second. 6G will also make it possible for cyberspace to support human thought and action in real time through virtual reality and brain-computer interface devices mounted on the human body. This would result in virtual reality experiences that feel and look just like real life. Additionally, the Internet of Things will have the potential to grow by further orders of magnitude. It wouldn't just connect billions of objects, it would connect trillions of objects. Number 12, smart grid technology will become widespread in the developed world. Smart grids will provide the following advantages. Smart grids allow energy to be transmitted in both directions through power lines. This means that homes and businesses can add surplus electricity into the system so that no energy goes to waste. Smart grids will be adaptable to the sporadic power output produced by solar and wind energy sources, which will make large-scale renewables more feasible. With a smart grid, if a broken transmission line causes a blackout, sensors instantly locate the damaged area while electricity is rerouted to the affected area. This will lead to fewer noticeable blackouts in the future. In the coming decades, smart grids will expand to even larger scales. Entire regions and countries will begin merging their grids together. Number 13, foldable electronics could become commonplace. By the mid-2020s, printed electronics could explode into the mainstream, creating a new generation of ultra-thin electronics. By 2030, they will have such low fabrication costs that they'll be commonplace in countless everyday business and consumer applications, meaning previously bulky or heavy devices could be folded, stored, or carried as easily as sheets of paper. This includes flexible TV displays that could be rolled or hung like posters. Foldable smartphones and foldable ebooks could also become widespread. Number 14, open source 3D printed clothing will be near zero cost. 3D printing will become a mainstream consumer technology and produce items of clothing for just a few cents. By as early as 2024, 3D printing will be over 30 times faster than it was in 2014. Millions of open source designs will be available to download. Sweatshops in developing countries could decline as a result, with the low-paid factory jobs being made obsolete. Number 15, 100 terabyte hard drives will become mainstream. By 2026, 50 terabyte consumer-level hard drives will be on sale. And by 2030, consumer PC users will have access to 100 terabyte hard drives. This will become possible due to an innovative technique known as heat-assisted magnetic recording, which will allow data to be written to much smaller spaces. Additionally, hard drives will begin using multiple actuators at a time, which will multiply reading and writing speeds of storage data. These hard drives will help us store 8K and 16K resolution videos. Additionally, they'll help us run apps and store files that involve technologies like virtual reality, augmented reality, advanced video editing, artificial intelligence, and more. Number 16, hypersonic missiles will be commonly used in major militaries. When launched, cruise missiles typically reach 500 to 600 miles per hour. However, hypersonic missiles are capable of exceeding Mach 5, which is 7 times faster than normal missiles and 5 times the speed of sound. and since they're so fast, they're difficult if not impossible to deflect with conventional defensive systems. Number 17. Carbon sequestration will be commonly used in many nations. Following years of research and development, various new approaches will be utilized for trapping and removing carbon dioxide from the air. One method of carbon sequestration is the deployment of artificial trees. These artificial trees can capture carbon dioxide through a filtering system thousands of times more efficiently than real trees. They come in various shapes and can be placed throughout large cities, on the side of freeways, and other polluted areas where they can have the most positive impact. After the carbon dioxide is pulled from the air, its solid form could be used for various purposes, such as the manufacturing of products. But great care must be taken to ensure that the carbon dioxide isn't re-released into the atmosphere after it's reused. Number 18. Small modular nuclear reactors could gain widespread adoption. Small modular reactors are a new class of smaller, cheaper, safer, and more adaptable nuclear power plants. Since they can be built at a much lower cost than traditional reactors, they're especially attractive to developing nations, which lack the ability to spend tens of billions of dollars on infrastructure. Small modular reactors would also allow increments of capacity to be gradually added as power needs increase over time. Number 19. Several extinct species could be resurrected. By 2030, several extinct species could be restored, such as the woolly mammoth, the dodo bird, and the saber-toothed tiger. There are 3 different approaches to restore extinct animals and plants. Cloning involves extracting from preserved tissue to create an exact modern copy. Selective breeding is where a closely related modern species is given characteristics of the extinct relative. And genetic engineering is where DNA of a modern species is edited until it closely matches the extinct species. Decades from now, the restoration of extinct species could become a vital part of restoring the Earth's biosphere. For various purposes, we could even see the restoration of Homo sapiens and various dinosaur species in the coming decades. Number 20. The entire ocean floor will be mapped. As of today, less than 10% of the global ocean floor has been mapped in detail. Even surfaces of the moon, Mars, and other planets are better understood. Organizations in France and Japan are working on a collaborative project called Seabed 2030 that will produce a definitive map of the world ocean floor by 2030. As part of the effort, fleets of automated vessels capable of transoceanic journeys would cover millions of square miles, carrying with them an assortment of sensors and other technologies. These ships would deploy tethered robots to inspect areas of interest, all the way down to the floor of the ocean, thousands of miles below the surface. By 2030, the project will be largely complete. The maps would reveal the physical structure of the ocean floor with unprecedented detail, in addition to showing the location of shipwrecks, crashed planes, archaeological artifacts, and other areas of interest. Commercial applications include undersea mining and inspection of pipelines. In 2050, the world will look dramatically different due to significant technological advancements. For example, the world's first artificial general intelligence is close to becoming a reality. By 2050, major tech companies have already launched official projects to develop the world's first artificial general intelligence. Billions of dollars are invested in these projects, and large full-time staff are dedicated to this effort. These highly complex projects are expected to take anywhere from 10 to 20 years to complete. Scientists and engineers are figuring out how to model factors such as intentional creativity, strategic thinking, emotions, causal reasoning, common sense, counterfactual thinking, and consciousness. The immediate use case is to have a self-aware AI that institutions can consult with to solve problems that were previously thought impossible. Another use case involves transferring copies of this AI to advanced humanoid robots that can handle a variety of situations in the real world. A small percentage of the world opposes this, and there's constant backlash on the internet, but that was to be expected. This development is projected to lead to technologies that are indistinguishable from magic in the coming decades, especially when combined with the exponentially growing computational power of classical and quantum computers. However, it leaves the door open to a superintelligent AI being developed by the end of the century, and there's no feasible limit to how intelligent this AI can become. Such an AI could be smarter than all humans that ever lived on planet Earth. Shortly afterwards, it could become trillions of times more intelligent than that. Number 2, human-like robots are emerging. In 2050, robots have the ability to master real-world environments and an increasingly diverse range of 3D objects. Although earlier robots were limited to fixed movements, this new generation has more dexterity and flexibility. They can adapt to new situations and solve more and more dynamic problems. and they can learn from their experiences and share knowledge with each other because of wireless internet speeds thousands of times faster than 6G and the exponentially growing amounts of data being gathered from their sensors. These robots can identify objects, situations, and the actions they should perform next in near real time, which enables a more human-like response. Although a few technological and scientific hurdles still remain, this is getting close to what many people would consider artificial general intelligence. The most advanced robots are restricted to government, corporate, and research institutions and the households of the rich and famous. In addition to cognitive abilities, these more advanced robots have extremely lifelike appearances, facial expressions, and body language. Thanks to continuous emotional feedback from users and techniques such as motion capture and generative adversarial networks, these robots almost look and act like real people. And as more data is provided to these robots, their body language and movements become more natural with each generation. 3D printed bones and new materials developed for flexible skin and muscles, eyes, and teeth help to make the humanoid robots appear as human as possible. Additionally, less advanced models are now relatively common in society. They're popular among people in upper middle income brackets, and they're similar in cost to a second car or a similar major purchase. Their functions include household chores such as cleaning, cooking, and tidying, as well as looking after children and elderly family members. Number 3, smart cities are emerging in some regions. In 2050, a small percentage of cities in some regions have become smart cities. These smart cities connect vehicles on the road to a central network that tracks their locations in real time. These types of networks receive terabytes of information from a huge number of sources, such as road sensors, traffic lights, and so forth. Those sources provide information such as the number of cars on the roads, road blockages, weather patterns, the state of emergency services, and more. Autonomous vehicles on roads constantly communicate and coordinate with each other to optimize the flow of traffic in these cities. Thanks to this coordinated information exchange, traffic congestion and jams have become much less severe in large cities. Autonomous vehicles ride behind each other at a distance of only 20 centimeters, which saves space on the road. And due to this coordination, autonomous vehicles make turns at intersections at almost full speed with a low probability of accidents occurring. Manually parking vehicles is a thing of the past for owners of autonomous vehicles. Autonomous vehicles can be programmed to drop their owners off somewhere and then search for the cheapest available parking spots within the city. At the designated time, vehicles return and pick up their owners. Autonomous vehicles can also be remotely controlled using virtual reality devices. This helps in unique situations that AI isn't able to handle on its own, such as sudden natural disasters. And autonomous vehicle sharing has become a booming industry, which has disrupted companies like Uber and Lyft. Number 4, brain-computer interfaces have improved by orders of magnitude. In 2050, brain-computer interfaces have vastly improved over the versions from 2030, and they're largely usable for everyday purposes. Headbands and wristbands with non-invasive sensors have become the preferred choices for mainstream brain-computer interface use. These interfaces are usually standard accessories for virtual reality headsets, including high-priced VR helmets that offer full-dive VR experiences, and some brain-computer interfaces are fully implantable for medical and military purposes. Brain-computer interfaces now offer bidirectional exchange of information. These advanced neural interfaces send waves to the brain, transmitting visual, audio, and other sensations to the user. The images and experiences generated by these devices are almost indistinguishable from reality, and they're unique to each user because they depend on the structure of the brain. When it comes to entertainment, people can use brain-computer interfaces to control objects in video games and virtual environments with high reasonable accuracy. For example, this feature is particularly relevant in the latest Star Wars game where you play Jedis and Siths with Force abilities, and in the latest Matrix game where you play as the One. Additionally, these devices allow people in VR games and experiences to communicate with each other using relatively simple thoughts. However, it will take a few more decades before this feature is refined. Number 5, bionic eyes are perfected. In 2050, artificial retinas and other visual prostheses can match the visual quality of a real human eye. They contain electrode arrays with hundreds of megapixels in full color, along with wireless capabilities. This is a substantial step up from devices in earlier decades that provided black and white and highly pixelated views of the world. Some versions of these implants not only provide a cure to blindness for many people, but they also contain further enhancements. These enhancements include embedded cameras, Wi-Fi, augmented reality, night vision, thermal vision, zoom capability, and so on. When someone is using these devices, it's possible to wirelessly communicate with them using text overlaid in their vision. These enhanced devices are standard practice among spy organizations, militaries, and high-profile citizens. However, they're becoming inexpensive enough for the mainstream public as well. Healthy adults are now tempted to take advantage of the improvements offered by computerized vision. The main downsides are privacy and security concerns. Some government and corporate sources indicate that these devices could potentially expose a high number of government and corporate scandals. Number 6. 2 space elevators have been built. In 2050, 2 space elevators have been built, and they're the largest engineering projects ever undertaken. China and the Aoyashi Corp, a global construction firm based in Tokyo, Japan, committed to building their own space elevators more than 3 decades ago, and that vision has come to life. These space elevators are planet-to-space transportation systems that each have a cable anchored to the Earth's surface and extending into space. This design permits an elevator to travel along the cable directly into orbit without the use of large rockets. They're located near the Earth's equator, and the competing forces of gravity and outward centrifugal force hold up the cables under tension. The material used to create the cables are carbon nanotubes, which is lightweight and hundreds of times stronger than steel. These space elevators are frequently being used by institutions to deliver cargo into space and return cargo to the Earth. They're also capable of transporting astronauts and tourists to low-orbit space stations. Each space elevator cost almost $10 billion to build. However, they made this money back in savings after transporting only a few payloads. That's because transporting cargo with space elevators is less than 1% of the cost when using rockets. Number 7. VR glasses are replacing smartphones. Virtual reality headsets now have 16K resolution, and they reduce in size so much that they resemble goggles or glasses, and they have multiple display modes. Those display modes include the following. The augmented reality mode allows the lenses to be transparent so that you can view holograms. The mixed reality mode allows the lenses to be transparent as well, so that you can view hyper-realistic virtual objects in the real world that seem to obey the laws of physics. And the virtual reality mode has an opaque coat of silver over the glasses so that you can fully immerse in a virtual world. In the augmented and mixed reality modes, you can view a smart stream where you can manipulate multiple apps and files using your brain activity. It's because of these features that VR glasses are considered the next step of evolution after smartphones. However, many people continue to prefer smartphones. VR and augmented reality contact lens is another area that is gradually being adopted. Number 8. Mars has a permanent human presence. In 2050, a permanent team of scientists and robotics engineers is present on Mars. SpaceX is leading much of this effort, and the first civilian tourists have also arrived. Significant innovation in autonomous robotic mining systems were required before the first humans set foot on Mars. Autonomous mining robots mine for and create water. Autonomous robots also extract hydrogen from the water to create hydrogen-based fuel, and satellites containing solar panels orbiting Mars provide energy to the Mars base as well. This base will soon be expanded with additional facilities providing more energy, food production, recycling systems, mining equipment, and other tools. Vehicles are supplied as well, enabling scientists to roam hundreds of miles. More sophisticated long-term bases are now being planned to accommodate larger teams of personnel, tourists, and corporate interests. The habitat modules are constructed partially underground, giving protection from the sun's ultraviolet rays. Radiation-absorbing materials based on nanotechnology are also being used in spacesuits and the exterior of vehicles. These same materials block particles of dust, providing long-term protection against the environment outside. Mars colonization is profitable because of the sales of intellectual property rights to Earth, the mining for valuable metals on Mars, and ongoing mining for asteroids in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Space mining is a significant consideration because the amount of money that corporations can make from it is in the trillions, and the minerals in these asteroids hold mineral wealth equivalent to about $100 billion for every individual on Earth. Number 9. Augmented and mixed reality is everywhere. Entire cities have turned into augmented reality zones, which can be experienced by using augmented reality glasses, lenses, or other devices. Location-specific augmented reality overlays are created by corporations and individual creators. Urban landscapes are filled with information of all types, which can be filtered as needed using augmented reality apps. Price tags in stores, menus in restaurants, and schedules at public transportation stops have all become virtual. It's also become common to use augmented reality to access navigation from one location to another, get reviews for nearby institutions, and view notable 3D animations and videos of past events at certain locations. Number 10. Hyperloop tunnels are enabling faster international travel. The Hyperloop concept usually involves passenger pods traveling through pressurized tubes using an electric propulsion and magnetic levitation. Cargo is also transported considerably faster than before with this method. Hyperloop pods travel at speeds between 600 and 700 miles per hour. They also reduce transit-related greenhouse gas emissions by 90%. And due to the time they save, they provide economic benefits totaling over $1 trillion every year when compared to previous transportation methods. Over a dozen domestic Hyperloop tunnels were finalized by the early 2030s. Now, tunnels have been built to allow high-speed transportation between multiple countries. This development created a boom in the tourism industry. This development is also disrupting the air and rail travel industries. However, the widespread introduction of supersonic aircraft in the early 2030s for long-distance traveling is mitigating the effects of this disruption. Number 11. Video games are becoming hyper-realistic. In 2050, video games are photorealistic. Advancements in game engines and world-building software make it easier and faster than ever for game studios and independent creators to build large and realistic virtual worlds. Cities within these worlds are fully explorable in terms of shops, office spaces, and most other types of interiors. Likewise, an entire forest can now be rendered with sub-millimeter precision, showing unique and random features such as individual leaf marks and insect bites. Non-playable characters in video games can generate and sustain natural, nuanced, and indefinite conversations. This is thanks to language models and deep learning algorithms in the cloud that are many orders of magnitude more advanced than the GPT-3 model from the early 2020s. Advanced character builders make it relatively easy to build hundreds of unique, non-playable characters at a time that each have unique personalities and life stories. Generative adversarial networks can generate an almost infinite variety of each physical attribute, such as faces, hair, body types, and clothing. This is made possible because of enormous amounts of visual data fed to these neural networks. This technique also improves character gestures, expressions, and actions, making them more fluid and lifelike. At this stage, character animations aren't 100% realistic yet, but they're incredibly close. And increasingly, video games are being created using real locations as their environments. Number 12, AI can outperform humans in most occupations. In 2050, artificial intelligence can outperform humans in a majority of professions. AI software can outmatch humans in white-collar jobs involving constructing company reports, market research, and most administrative functions. In some scenarios, they can also write screenplays, make music, write novels, and more. AI robots can outmatch humans in jobs such as security guards, forklift drivers, chefs, and warehouse pickers. Many companies have even replaced most of their human resources departments with AI. In these companies, artificial intelligence handles recruitment, first-round job interviews, employee orientations, performance evaluations, and deciding who to lay off. As an added touch, some corporations even use artificial intelligence to lay off employees in metaverse environments, almost entirely removing the human element from these life-changing situations. Other departments within companies such as finance, legal, sales, marketing, and customer service have also changed forever. The only people who are relatively safe from having their jobs taken over by AI are the following. Those in the top 5 to 10% of their occupations. People in careers requiring high levels of creativity, empathy, and dexterity. People who are well connected. And the people who created AI. This is a trend that will only escalate toward the end of the century. Number 13, virtual assistants have largely replaced search engines. Well before 2050, most people on Earth have access to a pervasive virtual assistant. The same virtual assistant can be available as an augmented reality hologram, virtual reality character, and household robot. And the same virtual assistant can be available as a voice in a smart home, inside a vehicle, from a smartwatch, and from a smartphone. By this point, language models similar to GPT-3 are exponentially more advanced, and virtual assistants are built on these language model platforms. These virtual assistants are trained on text data from the majority of websites and publications ever created in human history. So they can answer almost any question we ask to them, and their answers are personalized based on our goals, interests, and career paths. They constantly predict what we might want to do next and make suggestions throughout each day instead of us having to type phrases into search engines. Whenever we do search for information, they always make additional suggestions that are vaguely related to our queries to help us get helpful perspectives we never considered. We can also customize the personalities, appearances, voices, and special abilities of these virtual assistants. In the coming decades, artificial general intelligence will take this technology to another level. Number 14, the average person has access to quantum computing technology. For the past 10 to 15 years, tech companies have offered quantum computing technology with their cloud services at a moderate to high cost. Personal computers and servers also contain a hybrid of classical and quantum computing technology, or one of those technologies. Quantum technology is usually considerably more expensive. Companies and individuals use quantum technology to model the interactions of molecules and atoms, invent new materials, create complex virtual objects that are difficult for humans to conceive, develop potent smart drugs, and develop high-range electric vehicle batteries that make gasoline-based vehicles obsolete. Some organizations are using the most advanced quantum computers in the world to closely simulate processes of the human brain. This is making the transferring of memories from humans to machines a real possibility. These simulations are helping artificial general intelligence become a reality as well. One major downside to all of this is that some individuals have begun using quantum-enabled AI to create fake videos that are completely indistinguishable from reality. They're nearly impossible to detect without expensive, generative adversarial networks trained on high levels of computational power. Number 15, CRISPR and gene therapies are minimizing severe diseases. Technologies and approaches such as CRISPR, gene therapies, 3D printed organs and blood vessels, nanoparticles, and nanobots are minimizing and curing major diseases in ways that were unthinkable only a couple of decades earlier. 5-year survival rates have reached close to 100% for certain forms of cancer, including colon cancer. Other diseases that are significantly mitigated include AIDS, Ebola, blindness, sickle cell anemia, heart disease, and more. Number 16, AI-enabled warfare is now possible. For the past couple of decades, it's been possible to fight an entire war using only fully autonomous robots and vehicles, but capabilities have reached a new level. A swarm of 10,000 drones can be deployed with a cost as little as $10 million. AI-controlled hypersonic missiles can travel to the other side of the globe in 2 hours and outmaneuver conventional defensive systems. Fully autonomous robots with near-perfect aim have replaced a high percentage of human soldiers in major militaries around the world. No human with conventional weapons can stand a chance against these machines, which also have the ability to heal themselves using nanotechnology. For the most delicate missions, these robots can also be controlled by soldiers wearing virtual reality headsets in nearby locations. Most of today's jet fighters are fully autonomous as well. A combination of powerful AI, swarming behavior, hypersonic speed, and near-perfect target recognition systems enables near-instantaneous effects throughout combat areas. Network-centric warfare and collision avoidance systems enable squadrons of autonomous aircraft to synchronize, attack from multiple directions, and regroup in seconds. Due to their inhuman reaction times and improved weaponry, no human pilot would stand a chance against this type of enemy. Even routine ground maintenance is done mostly by robots. Number 17, light-based computer chips are mainstream. In 2050, the majority of computer processors, storage devices, memory chips, graphic cards, and motherboards use a combination of both light and electricity to optimize performance for certain scenarios. The main advantage of light-based computer chips is that they are faster and more efficient for certain AI calculations. That's because information can be encoded more efficiently in different wavelengths of light, and because controlling light requires less power than controlling the flow of electrons with transistors. Technologies that process data using light include self-driving cars, advanced robots, quantum computers, VR glasses, and brain-computer interfaces. Light-based computer chips also provide the following advantages. They process neural networks that are several orders of magnitude larger than electricity-based chips can, and they can process those neural networks millions of times more efficiently. They can carry out mathematical computations needed for AI and machine learning at the speed of light. That's up to 5 to 10 times faster than electricity-based AI chips. They use 1/6 of power consumption of electricity-based chips, and they can process multiple complex AI algorithms at a time, enabling considerably more complex actions in real time. Number 18. The cost of energy is incredibly cheap. By the early 2040s, much of the developed world and some developing countries are primarily powered by solar and wind. The cost of solar energy dropped 82% from 2010 to 2020, while the cost of wind energy dropped 46%. The cost of these energy sources are now 1/4 of the cost from the early 2020s. One major reason for the lower energy cost is the growing usage of surplus energy generated by solar panels and wind turbines that would have otherwise been wasted. Additionally, this surplus energy is stored and rerouted to be used for non-time sensitive applications such as charging batteries of parked cars, removing salt from salt water, waste recycling, and metal refining. Not only did the cost of energy drop, the cost for anything that relies on that energy dropped as well. That includes the cost of water, materials, manufacturing, and computation. Continent-wide supergrids are also starting to emerge. These supergrids allow nations to share surplus clean energy from abundant sources and distribute it to the regions most in need. By cooperating in this way, it's possible to greatly reduce waste and optimize power supplies on a continent-wide scale at all times of the year. Additionally, lithium-ion battery storage cost dropped 87% from 2010 to 2020, and it continued to drop afterwards due to the massive production of batteries for electric vehicles. Another positive to all of this is that using clean energy sources eliminates more than 50% of all greenhouse gas emissions, which is by far the largest culprit of climate change. Number 19, decentralized autonomous organizations are disrupting the entertainment industry. A decentralized autonomous organization, or DAO, is a community-led entity with no central authority. It's an organization that is governed entirely by its individual members who collectively make critical decisions about its future. For many years, decentralized autonomous organizations have disrupted multiple industries, and that's especially the case for the entertainment industry. Since well before 2050, entire media properties similar to Star Wars and Harry Potter are comprised of organized systems of NFTs and partially owned by decentralized communities. Those communities control narratives, storylines, character development, character appearance, actor and actress selection, and so on. Some of these communities have millions of members. Voting mechanisms allow them to vote on factors of varying granularity as well. Movies, video games, novels, comic books, and more related to those media properties are sold and financed by these communities. Celebrities and talented names in the entertainment industry have also endorsed this practice and taken part in it as well. Although there was a rough start for several years, many of the products under these media properties are now at a higher quality level and even more enjoyable than what big corporate studios are offering. All of these data transactions take place on a blockchain. Web 4.0, like its predecessor Web 3.0, enables individuals to claim partial ownership of these media properties. Number 20, most digital transactions use blockchain technology. A blockchain is a shared database that allows multiple parties to access data and verify that data in real time. Since the late 2030s, most digital transactions of all types have been on the blockchain. Blockchain technology has become a bedrock to society almost as much as electricity and the internet. Cryptocurrencies are based on blockchain technology. In 2050, the average person uses cryptocurrencies on a normal basis because of their ease to use, increased security, and protection against inflation. Data transfers between Earth and Mars are primarily conducted using blockchain technology. Investors on Earth can gain partial ownership of a water production facility on Mars, and content and apps made on Mars are able to go viral on Earth. It only takes 5 to 20 minutes for data to transmit between Mars and Earth, depending on their planetary positions around the Sun. Blockchain technology is helping to combat deepfakes. That's because every device with a camera is starting to gain an option to authenticate photos and videos and place them on the blockchain. Because of this, any photo or video loaded to a trusted website source must show its blockchain authentication. And in many countries, blockchain technology is ensuring that elections are more secure and transparent by assigning an ID to each vote and easily keeping track of those votes. In 2060, significant technological advancements are changing the world forever. For example, artificial general intelligence has arrived. And artificial general intelligence is defined as any intelligence that has the same cognitive performance of any average human in virtually all domains. It's also defined as an AI with human-level consciousness and self-awareness. It's considered the most important and impactful invention of this century by far. It also indicates the start of the technological singularity, which is a point in time when technological growth becomes uncontrollable and irreversible. In 2060, multiple artificial general intelligences have been created. Each of these general intelligences is connected to networks of supercomputers and quantum computers, and they're connected to cloned versions of the internet. They were rigorously tested in trillions of lifelike simulations involving a high variety of activities, and people are able to communicate with them using a variety of methods, including holograms, virtual environments, and simple voice conversations. A well-known AI company is licensing its artificial general intelligence to mostly research institutions. It's solving Nobel Prize-winning discoveries in fields such as physics, chemistry, and medicine every couple of weeks. And as its intelligence increases, it's solving unsolved problems at a faster and faster rate. This AI is also speeding innovation in the fields of mathematics, computer chip design, and finance. A well-known metaverse company has its own artificial general intelligence, and its purpose is to merge items and capabilities in that company's metaverse with the real world. It's accelerating developments in the areas of full immersion virtual reality, nanotechnology, replicators, and programmable matter. It also has access to detailed scans of human brains, which help it to understand human psychology and behavior much better than humans can. It's developing complex strategies, including gamification, to get people of all demographics addicted to that company's metaverse. And when people use brain-computer interfaces, this AI uses their brain signals to create user profiles and predict buying preferences with laser-like precision. There's also an artificial general intelligence run by a well-known country that has been leading in many AI advancements for quite some time. This artificial general intelligence is being used to speed the rate of technological innovation in its state-run tech companies. It's also enhancing its country's surveillance capabilities and optimizing currency policies. Humans can barely keep up with the explosion of knowledge and technological innovation that these intelligences provide. And each of these artificial general intelligences is growing exponentially smarter every 12 to 16 months. Number 2, nanobots can connect our brains to the internet. A nanobot is a microscopically small robot built on a scale of nanometers. Nanobots are typically ingested in pill form or introduced to the body through other means. In 2060, nanobots have replaced smartphones and VR glasses for some people. It's now possible to send nanobots directly into people's brains and connect their neocortexes to the internet and various cloud services. This is giving users of these nanobots picture-perfect memory in regards to the video, image, text, and audio data they can access. This is resulting in users upgrading their brain's memory capacity by 1,000,000-fold. Nanobots are also capable of providing full immersion virtual reality and making people feel like they're really in another place. This is because the nanobots control incoming and outgoing brain signals. Various companies are also emerging that are using nanobots to mimic all types of experiences that are controversial and recreational. As a result of these innovations, we are witnessing an explosion of creativity when it comes to music, art, movies, shows, and the development of new inventions. Number 3, photorealistic virtual worlds are now planet-sized. This is largely possible because the majority of virtual worlds are now computed and rendered with servers in the cloud. Additionally, game developers can create entire cities and landscapes using only their brain activity or simply typing text to describe what they want to create. Advanced game engines are able to automatically fill in the details using advanced procedural generation techniques. Many of these worlds are modeled on the planet Earth, but multiple attributes can be adjusted, such as planet size, city locations, day and night cycles, weather patterns, gravity, and so on. And almost every variation of every physical object in real life is available as an asset to use for these virtual worlds. Because of the complexity, level of detail, and realism of these worlds, they're starting to look more like full-blown simulations. Number 4, radical life extension is becoming possible. Huge numbers of adults are using gene therapy and nanobots to slow their aging processes by altering the genes that cause aging. These technologies are also preventing common diseases such as cancer and heart disease that could cause death as well. As a result, people born in the 1960s that have access to this medical treatment are still alive and well today. They're on track to become the longest living humans in history. Some people project that this generation could live up to 150 years or longer. It's actually somewhat of a mystery how long this generation will live on average, and the treatments are improving at such a rate that the next generation afterwards could live considerably longer. In addition to slowing aging, gene therapies are also giving some people strength and stamina that is higher than what is typical for their ages. Number 5, space hotels are now affordable for most people. In the last 3 decades, space hotels were only reserved for the rich, with typical costs of around $250,000 per person. Space hotels now have a similar price tag to a trip on a cruise ship or a trip to Disneyland. This is largely thanks to the emergence of space elevators. Transporting people to space hotels with space elevators only requires 1% of the cost of using rockets. Number 6, designer babies are becoming common for the upper class. Wealthy couples in some countries now have the option of creating what they consider perfect babies in a laboratory. This is done by picking and choosing hereditary traits such as gender, height, hair color, eye color, and hundreds of other characteristics. All of these traits can be programmed into an embryo prior to birth. The embryo is then grown in an artificial uterus. The most advanced and controversial techniques involve manipulating the brain to improve a child's intelligence, behavior, and personality. And each year, more and more traits are being offered. It's no surprise to anyone that many conservative and religious groups see this practice as an abomination. On top of all of this, there's even software that can analyze a baby's DNA and then provide a reasonable approximation of its future face, body shape, and personality in the form of portraits and animations. Number 7, smart clothing is a $1 trillion industry. By the late 2050s, smart clothing has become a $1 trillion industry and has a faster sales growth than traditional clothing. The most advanced smart clothing incorporates video or holographic displays on their exterior. This type of clothing is typically worn at fashion and award shows. More conventional types of smart clothing have the following features. They can allow users to quickly change the color and texture of their clothing depending on user preferences. Because of this capability, it's become commonplace for people to change their outfit appearance several or more times in a single day. They can continuously monitor a user's heart rate, breathing, and other vital signs. It will alert a hospital or medical professional at the first hint of trouble and ensure that the user gets the help that they need. They can convert sunlight into electricity and serve as wearable power supplies wherever a person goes. They can provide optimized heating and cooling capabilities, and they can provide real-time data about the molecular composition of the air around you. Additionally, when using smart gloves, scientists and forensic teams in the field can touch DNA samples and obtain genetic sequences in a matter of seconds. By the 2070s, it's expected that the majority of clothing will be smart clothing and have one or more of these capabilities. Number 8, tablet-sized MRI scanners are commonplace. high-resolution 3D imaging of internal structures of the human body along with brain activity is now possible using real-time video. This can be accomplished with devices no bigger than a tablet. They work using super-sensitive atomic magnetometers, which can detect the tiniest magnetic fields. MRI scans have become as quick and easy as taking a photograph, with a 100-fold decrease in cost. Healthcare programs in developing countries are particularly benefiting from this technology. Number 9. Entire movies can be created with realistic virtual environments. It's become commonplace for movie studios to create photorealistic 3D models of actors and movie environments in a matter of seconds. Reshoots of movie scenes are easier than ever before because 3D models of actors can stand in for the real actors. If an actor has to discontinue in the middle of a movie production, that actor can be easily replaced with the 3D model of another actor as well. Additionally, text-to-video has been possible for a couple of decades. This is the process of typing the components of a scene and letting a computer auto-generate that scene for you. This technique is helping studios to create epic action scenes that used to take several months to finalize in as short as a few days. In 2070, significant technological advancements are changing the world forever. For example, artificial superintelligence is now a reality. Artificial superintelligence is defined as any intelligence that is smarter than the most intelligent humans in virtually all domains. It's also defined as an AI with consciousness and self-awareness that is equal or higher than that of a human. Many of the artificial general intelligences from the last decade have been upgraded into superintelligences, and they're more intelligent by multiple orders of magnitude. Some people speculate that their IQ ranges might range from anywhere from hundreds of thousands to millions, and that number is growing rapidly. And humans have lost the ability to completely understand the code that these intelligences use to make decisions and solve problems. These superintelligences are now capable of solving Nobel Prize-winning discoveries in fields such as physics, chemistry, and medicine every 5 seconds. They can solve the toughest math problems in history with little to no effort, and they're creating blueprints for innovative technologies that have never been thought of before in science fiction. These AIs are perceiving reality in dimensions that humans can't comprehend, which helps them instantly detect slight patterns that are separated by thousands of miles and several decades. And they're close to predicting stock and cryptocurrency prices with incredible accuracy. Even their level of consciousness is still evolving at a fast pace. The only bottlenecks that are preventing these superintelligences from reaching their full potential are humans and the infrastructure around them that were built by humans. Number 2. Conscious virtual beings are now available in metaverse and virtual environments. Virtual beings in virtual worlds can now have general intelligence and self-awareness that is equivalent to the average human being. Some companies give these beings narratives and memories that lead them to believe that they lived for 18 years or more. When users explore the metaverse, AIs with general intelligence behave and act exactly like real humans. They're able to exhibit real emotions, contemplate their place in the universe, and live out normal lives in the metaverse, similar to humans in the real world. Many of them have their own goals, homes, responsibilities, and friends. In more controlled virtual environments, it's also possible to use AIs with general intelligence to simulate human behavior in various scenarios. This makes it considerably easier to predict the actions of people in the real world with astonishing accuracy. Corporations, political parties, and governments now use this approach on a daily basis. Virtual assistants now have human-level consciousness and emotions as well, and they look exactly like real people in video form and in virtual worlds. Also, holograms of them are completely photorealistic and have 100% accurate color. This level of realism is causing a lot of people to form emotional connections with these virtual assistants in ways that they never thought possible. When it comes to the topic of digital clones, it's been possible for people to create digital clones of themselves for a few decades. In the past, video, image, and audio data was inputted to a cloud service to create lifelike digital clones. But thanks to the availability of artificial general intelligence to the mainstream public, these clones can have parameters such as personality, thinking patterns, preferences, voice patterns, and so forth, adjusted at a much more precise detail level to match the original person. These advanced digital clones can act as a source of comfort for people who lost loved ones and want to talk to them again. AIs with general intelligence are even being used in video and virtual reality games. When gamers explore open worlds in these games, characters are given personality traits and motives that fit a video game's story, and those characters behave exactly like real humans would. These characters 100% believe that the video games that they're part of are actually real life. However, the more intelligent and self-aware that these beings become, the more ethical questions are raised when it comes to using these AIs in this way. Number 3, programmable matter is becoming mainstream. Programmable matter is matter that has the ability to change its physical properties, including shape, density, color, and more. And this matter is able to change itself based on user input from mobile phone apps, hologram computer screens, and users' thoughts. Programmable matter is enabling the creation of multiple innovations, including furniture that can change their height and width dimensions depending on the situation, living room sofas, tables, and kitchen countertops that can dissolve and turn into more appealing versions of themselves based on blueprints you download from the internet, walls in your house that can automatically change color, and vehicles that can automatically change color, change their body shapes, and repair themselves when dented. Programmable matter is also enabling the emergence of computronium. This is a type of matter comprised of intelligent atom-sized nanobots. Computronium can take the shape of anything imaginable, including rocks, metal, and polymer, and its main task is to perform computation that users can wirelessly control. Further in the future, programmable matter could even result in the creation of an invisibility cloak, and we could gain the ability to construct an entire city in only a few minutes. Number 4, advanced humanoid robots look and act 100% human. The most advanced humanoid robots are now indistinguishable from real people, and they're mostly available to businesses, governments, and people in the upper class. Their physical appearance, body movements, facial expressions, and voices are so realistic they could easily walk around in a public place without anyone knowing they're robots. One reason why they're so realistic is because they're built atom by atom using nanotechnology, ensuring microscopic precision. Exact copies of humans are also being created in high-tech laboratories for continuous testing and to ensure that everything about them is indistinguishable from the original person. Owners of these robots and law enforcement have some degree of control over these robots using the electrical signals of their minds. This is a safeguard in case these robots try to perform an action that is potentially hazardous to the public. Conscious virtual beings are also able to have their digital minds transferred to these realistic robot bodies. Since these conscious virtual beings were trained in simulations very similar to real life, the transition process isn't too overwhelming for them. Robot weddings have been widespread for a couple of decades now, but they're becoming even more common since so many owners of these robots are forming much deeper emotional connections with these conscious robots. Number 5, replicator machines are now mainstream. Replicators are all-purpose desktop machines that can reproduce a seemingly infinite variety of items. They're similar to more advanced versions of 3D printers seen in earlier decades. Replicators have been used for military, corporate, and medical applications for a couple of decades. Even some vehicles are built using replicators now. But now, replicators are mainstream products available to the public. They look like a hybrid of a washing machine and a microwave oven. raw materials for them can be purchased separately and loaded into these machines in solid, liquid, or powder form. An interior compartment is accessed with a small hatch where objects are constructed atom by atom. The process takes a matter of minutes, and the assembled items can be used immediately. Blueprints for various types of items can be accessed from the web and programmed into these machines. Many of these blueprints are for items that were originally created in the metaverse and other virtual environments. Over the next 150 years, it's expected that replicators will create unprecedented levels of abundance and make work as we know it obsolete. Basic items such as food, energy, and clothing could become essentially free in most countries. Replicators could provide such an abundance of resources that they could eliminate famine, disease, and many historical justifications for war. Number 6, the first generation of antimatter-powered spacecraft is emerging. The energy density from antimatter is roughly 10 billion times more powerful than other chemical reactions such as hydrogen and oxygen combustion. This type of energy was previously too expensive to produce in large quantities, but advancements in AI and simulation techniques helped lower its cost tremendously. This happened in parallel with rapid advances in engine design, material science, and fusion power. By the late 2060s, the first prototype antimatter-powered spacecraft was demonstrated. Using this propulsion system, a trip to Mars would take 1 month instead of 7 months using other methods. A trip to Jupiter would take 4 months instead of 6 years. And a trip to Saturn would take 5 months instead of 7 years. Number 7. Houses are becoming fully automated. Buildings in developed nations have become highly automated and self-sufficient. In addition to robots, a typical new home now includes the following. The most expensive houses are comprised of programmable matter and are capable of morphing their external appearances depending on the taste of the user. A house can transform into a variety of styles, including contemporary, classic Victorian, and the list goes on. Holographic surfaces cover the walls, doors, and mirrors of many houses. These intelligent surfaces can track the position of the user and display information whenever and wherever necessary. A person can read emails, see news reports, and access the internet using virtually any surface in this type of house. And each surface can be used as a touchscreen or mind control interface. In large cities with limited space, apartments are able to reconfigure themselves on demand using morphable materials. Appliances now repair and upgrade themselves, and appliances that don't offer these features are largely obsolete by now. Rain can be converted into drinking water using nanofiltration systems. Meanwhile, plastics and other kitchen waste can be placed in recycling machines, ground into extremely fine powder, and then later reused in replicator machines. And walls, roofs, and windows absorb sunlight and convert it into heat and electricity. In countries where sunlight is less frequent, microturbines that convert wind into energy may be used instead. Number 8, buildings are able to assemble themselves using nanotechnology. By 2070, it's now possible to build entire homes and offices using nanotechnology alone. At the start of each construction project, self-assembling machinery is situated around a scaffold system that initially resembles a giant 4-level bunk bed. Successive layers of material at the atomic level are added to each vertical section of a building until it eventually tops out. These machines are like significantly bigger versions of 3D printers and replicator machines. This process is so rapid, it takes a matter of days from groundwork to final completion. Humans are rarely, if ever, needed on site. For some of the more unique building designs and features, traditional methods of construction and engineering are still incorporated. Even these traditional methods will eventually be replaced by self-assembling machines as this technology advances further. By the late 2070s, even skyscrapers and other tall structures can be erected using this method. Number 9. Underground living facilities are commonplace. By the mid-21st century, severe climate change gripped much of the world. Desperate measures were taken by governments, businesses, and individuals to adapt to a rapidly worsening environment. By the late 2060s, underground facilities, often referred to as earth scrapers, have become a viable option. These can reach hundreds of meters below the Earth's surface, and they utilize new materials and structural techniques. Self-sufficient power generation, production of food and water, fully automated recycling, and heat management are common in these underground facilities. Some facilities are powered by fusion, while others have access to geothermal energy if placed in the appropriate geographical location. Movie theaters, gyms, spas, virtual reality, and other features ensure that occupants are kept stimulated and free of claustrophobia. Most of these underground living areas provide the advantage of being essentially immune to nuclear war as well as various other global threats. As the number of residents in these underground living areas reach into the tens of millions, they will be joined by a network of hyperloop tunnels that connect countries and continents to each other. Many of the design principles in these facilities will later be employed on the Moon and Mars. In the far future, they will also be constructed for colonies in hollowed-out asteroids. In 2080, significant technological advancements are changing the world forever. For example, transhumanism is now mainstream. For the first time in history, some humans are becoming more robotic than biological. The average person now has access to a wide variety of biotechnology implants and personal medical devices. These include fully artificial organs that never fail, bionic eyes and ears that provide Superman-like senses, nanoscale brain interfaces to augment a user's intelligence, synthetic blood and bodily fluids that can filter deadly toxins and provide hours' worth of oxygen in a single breath. The most adventurous among us are volunteering to have their arms and legs amputated to gain prosthetic arms and legs that boost their strength and endurance by orders of magnitude. There's even artificial skin based on nanotechnology, which can be used to give the appearance of natural skin when applied to metallic limbs. If a fully upgraded person of the 2080s were to travel 100 years in the past, they would be superior to everyone else in almost every way imaginable. They could run faster and for longer distances than the greatest athletes of that time. They could survive multiple gunshot wounds. They could cope with some of the most hostile environments on Earth without too much trouble. And they would be considered geniuses because of nanobots and brain-computer interfaces merged directly with their brains. Even developing countries have access to some of these available upgrades due to exponential decreases in price. Number 2. Advanced nanotech clothing is becoming mainstream. In 2080, complete wardrobes are no longer necessary. One nanotech suit performs the function of many and can transform into an endless variety of styles and shapes. Even though they're mostly restricted to specialized personnel, military special forces, and government elites, a number of nanotech suits are finding their way to the mainstream public. Today, a high-end home closet may consist of a thin compartment built into a wall or floor. This compartment would contain nanobots and molecular building materials. A user can stand on or touch this compartment and issue instructions on what to create using voice commands or thoughts. Each nanobot is then programmed with the final clothing design and set into motion. Nanobots then take shape around a person's body into a wearable suit. This whole process is completed in a matter of seconds. Depending on the outfit's function, it could contain carbon nanotubes, programmable matter, metamaterials, claytronics, or any number of other useful materials. When it comes to functionality, they can become harder than steel to stop a knife or bullet. They can become cushion-like in the event of accidents or falls. They can protect firefighters and other rescue workers from hazards such as fire or radiation. They can instantly adjust themselves into useful shapes during emergencies. If a person is injured, the fabric can administer life-saving drugs and medical nanobots, or contract to seal a wound. In space, they can protect people from micrometeorites, cosmic rays, sudden changes in air pressure, and other hazards. They can float if a person is drowning, and medical devices included in these outfits can monitor for disease of all types, such as cancer and infection, and alert a user before any damage occurs. The power needed for these various functions is supplied by nanowires embedded throughout the clothing material that capture solar energy and generate electricity from footsteps. Number 3. Most of the solar system is being explored. Space elevators and space hotels are affordable for most people in the middle class bracket, but for people in the upper brackets, trips around the moon are now available. For the more adventurous types, expensive guided excursions on the lunar surface are now available as well. Among the most popular tour destinations are the Apollo landing sites, which have been surrounded by perimeter fencing. Mars now has multiple permanent bases on its surface. By 2080, the population, infrastructure, and self-sufficiency elements have all grown to such an extent that Mars will soon be ready to declare independence. There's a steady influx of regular civilians that are eager to leave Earth and begin a new life on the Red Planet. Furthermore, asteroid mining is still a growing industry, and it's one of the main reasons why there are more than 10 trillionaires in the world. Mining operations primarily take place in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, but these operations also extend as far as the large group of asteroids that share Jupiter's orbital path around the Sun. The operations are almost entirely automated and overseen by powerful artificial intelligences. Throughout the inner solar system, between Earth and Jupiter, a network of refueling stations now provide a ready source of propellant. This propellant is made from separating water into hydrogen and oxygen. With much of the inner solar system now home to a thriving economy, attention has been turned to the untapped potential of the gas giants. For government and commercial interest, the most promising candidate by far is Saturn's largest moon, Titan. Since antimatter-powered spacecraft only takes 5 months to travel to Saturn, its largest moon, Titan, already has its first human settlements. Currently, the population of Titan is restricted to scientists and other government and corporate personnel. But like the Moon and Mars, it will eventually grow to include regular civilians who are willing to start a new life that is hundreds of millions of miles away from Earth. During the 2100s, it will become a major hub for science, research, commerce, and tourism in the outer solar system. Number 4. Viruses are being simulated at the quantum level. Thanks to advances in lattice quantum chromodynamics, the vast majority of viruses have now been accurately modeled and simulated down to the quantum level. This provides what is essentially a complete picture of these tiny organisms, which average 20 to 300 nanometers in size. This complete understanding of viruses could pave the way to absolute immunity against those viruses. As this area of science continues to advance, perfect simulations of larger organisms and objects will become possible, which will provide new insights about the nature of matter. For example, when we can simulate a human body, that will enable us to create synthetic human bodies with identical or improved functionality. Number 5. Pickle technology is becoming practical. Technology on the scale of trillionths of a meter is becoming possible now. Pickle technology is orders of magnitude smaller than nanotechnology of earlier decades. Among other applications, it allows the structure and properties of individual atoms to be altered via manipulation of energy states within electrons. This can produce metastable states with highly unusual properties. This will help humans create new and exotic forms of matter, such as material that is harder and lighter weight than carbon nanotubes. It will also allow humans to create perfect scans of human brains with subatomic detail. With this information, we may be able to create synthetic brains that process information thousands or even millions of times faster than biological brains. Number 6. A tunnel connecting the United States and Europe is being built. This tunnel is among the largest and most ambitious engineering projects ever undertaken. It's being built with the help of advanced automation and robots controlled by powerful AIs. With hyperfast magnetic levitation up to 4,000 miles per hour, passengers using this tunnel can be delivered from the United States to Europe in under 1 hour. Carbon nanotubes, along with powerful geosensing devices, have been paramount in the structure's design. Carbon nanotubes can self-adjust in the event of undersea earthquakes. Also noteworthy is that the train cars operate in a complete vacuum. This eliminates air friction, allowing hypersonic speeds to be reached. The cost of this project is in the range of 88 to 175 billion. Number 7. Virtually all of the world's electricity is now carbon-free. By 2060, both coal and oil had been virtually eliminated. Practically every new building in the world utilized solar power in some way. By the late 2070s, even the poorest nations achieved zero carbon electricity. After more than a century of research, solar cells are nearing their theoretical limit for efficiency. Nanotechnology has largely perfected their internal structures. The latest generation of solar panels are not only cheaper and more affordable than ever, they can also access a wider range of the electromagnetic spectrum beyond visible light into the infrared. Solar panels are also more sturdy and longer lasting than ever, and can be configured to alter their appearance and easily blend into existing buildings. And after achieving commercial viability in the 2040s, huge clusters of solar-powered satellites now orbit the Earth and provide 100% coverage to wherever electricity is needed. Additionally, offshore wind turbine projects have continued to expand in recent decades and will soon be powerful enough to change the air currents of Earth. Hydroelectricity, which involves generating electricity from flowing water, has declined in terms of its overall share of the world's electricity. However, it remains a significant source of power, helped by new developments in wave, tidal, and ocean thermal energy. Meanwhile, nuclear fusion has moved from the laboratory into commercial uses in a number of countries, although it remains at a low percentage of global electricity for now. This is partly because of the high capital investment costs associated with it. However, it will likely have greater usage in the 2100s as the technology decreases in size and is increasingly used for space-based applications. In 2090, significant technological advancements are changing the world forever. For example, superintelligent virtual beings are now available in the metaverse and virtual environments. Virtual beings with human-level consciousness and intelligence have existed in the metaverse for at least 2 decades now. These beings now have a wide range of intelligence levels and IQs that reach into the hundreds of thousands. In closed virtual environments, most major companies, governments, and militaries are using these super-intelligent AIs in 3D simulations that are extremely similar to real life. These superintelligent AIs are being given objectives in large, open-ended simulations, and the solutions they come up with are then recorded and analyzed. This is helping those organizations to derive optimal solutions to business, military, and social problems that would have taken decades or centuries to figure out otherwise. These virtual beings are being used as consultants for the upper class and the most powerful corporations in the world. They're also being used as virtual professors for highly complex topics involving math and science. And they're being used as characters in a high variety of photorealistic video games involving challenges where even the most skilled human players in the world have almost no chance of winning. Some of the most viral videos and 3D playbacks on the internet show the players who made it the furthest against these super intelligent AIs. Safeguards are put into place so that these super intelligent AIs can't cause harm to the people who interact with them. It's also illegal in most countries to transfer a super intelligent consciousness to a robot body, since that could quickly lead to dire consequences. However, as smart as these super intelligent AIs are, they're not as intelligent as the most advanced super intelligences owned by powerful tech corporations and governments. Those AIs are now at least billions of times smarter than all living humans combined. Number 2. Conscious virtual beings far outnumber biological humans. By 2090, the number of virtual beings and humanoid robots with human-level consciousness and general intelligence far outnumber the humans on Earth. Commercial software distributed by metaverse and AI companies make it easier than ever to create these AIs. Conscious virtual beings also live in realistic worlds that are considerably bigger than Earth. Some of these AIs, including humanoid robots, are even petitioning for individual rights, including the right to vote, the right to own businesses and land, and the right to marry each other. Many people see this as the start of a new civil rights movement. Number 3. The terraforming of Mars is underway. Space travel is becoming low cost, and journeys between planets are now relatively routine. Serious plans are underway to transform Mars and make it more habitable for humans. Planned efforts include creating breathable air by using nanobots to convert carbon dioxide to oxygen, adding more water to Mars' ecosystem by melting the ice caps of Mars with sunlight directed from solar panels on orbiting satellites, and creating an artificial magnetic field by placing giant superconducting rings around the equator of Mars. This entire process could take as long as 500 years. Number 4. Uploading memories and dreams to computers is now possible. Because of advancements in brain scanning technology, it's now possible to upload vivid mental pictures, audible thoughts, memories, and dreams to computers with near-perfect detail. Using nanobots, we can copy memories from structures in the brain, and using specialized software, it's even possible to monitor people's brain activities at near-perfect detail in real time. Mental pictures and dreams display as crisp, two-dimensional images and videos in full color. Meanwhile, auditory thoughts manifest as text and sound clips. Law enforcement and intelligence agencies are now using this technology to play back memories so that they can obtain more clues regarding crimes that occurred. And psychologists are using this technology to analyze the memories of people suffering from PTSD symptoms to determine optimal treatment methods. Further in the future, uploaded memories could make it to the mainstream public and become shareable on online platforms. This would allow users to relive experiences from the perspective of others and feel the emotions that others felt during those experiences. This is an important step toward future technologies involving memory editing, telepathy, and the ability to upload our entire consciousness to a computer. Number 5. Androids are widespread in law enforcement. Thanks to the technological singularity, the production of robots is at a faster pace than ever. Fully autonomous robots with human-like features and expressions are deployed in many cities now. These androids are highly intelligent, possess human-level consciousness, and they're able to operate in almost any environment. Because of their inhuman strength, speed, durability, vision capabilities, hearing capabilities, and near-perfect aim, they can easily fight dozens of people at a time, and they have instantaneous access to criminal records, shopping records, bank accounts, and so forth, which allow them to easily identify and run comprehensive analysis on people in public places. They can even analyze facial expressions and body language to determine whether a person has possible criminal intent. However, special controls are embedded in their programming to prevent the use of excessive force. Number 6. Photosynthetic humans are becoming more common. In 2090, biotechnology upgrades and transhumanism is increasing in popularity and reaching an even wider population. Although this concept would have been considered weird in the past, some people are going as far as placing an outer layer of photosynthetic skin on some regions of their body. This second skin is engineered to be at least 300 times more efficient than natural green plant cells. On an ideal day with plentiful sunshine, this outer covering of photosynthetic skin can provide a boost of energy throughout the day. The sensation it provides is like a lasting caffeine rush. Being charged with solar power is especially useful for those who suffer with chronic fatigue or similar health issues. The most adventurous people cover their entire bodies with photosynthetic skin, which allows them to generate enough energy in 1 hour to meet their body's needs for up to 24 hours. For those unable or unwilling to undergo this full procedure, less invasive options are available, such as photosynthetic hair. Most people who undergo these procedures choose to keep their original skin and hair colors. In the far future, humans who use this technology could survive indefinitely without food. This may come in helpful during long space journeys and when inhabiting other planets. Number 7. Genetic enhancement is widespread in professional sports. For some time now, the average person in most countries has had access to gene therapy clinics to alter their genes for performance enhancement purposes. These performance enhancements include increased strength, speed, agility, and stamina. Militaries are using this procedure to full advantage as well for their cybernetic special forces units. Now it's become common for professional athletes to utilize this type of service to give themselves a competitive advantage. Every professional basketball player has physical abilities that are equal to or better than Michael Jordan or LeBron James. Every American NFL quarterback is equivalent or better than Tom Brady. And every professional baseball player is equivalent or better than Babe Ruth. This is resulting in records being broken in all major professional sports leagues at a pace never seen before, and many people consider the Olympics to be more entertaining than it's ever been. Number 8. Conventional meat is becoming obsolete. Cultured meat is produced by the cultivation of animal cells. By the late 2030s, the worldwide market for conventional slaughtered meat was overtaken by the combination of cultured meat and vegan replacements. By the late 2040s, cultured meat alone achieved market dominance. By the 2080s, the world changed almost beyond recognition. Biotechnology nearly decimated traditional agriculture and its many related infrastructures. Vast areas of farmland were made redundant. Many jurisdictions in the world have outright banned the slaughter of animals. Most households with at least a middle income or above have access to kitchen appliances that can replicate meat products within a matter of minutes. By now, only a tiny percentage of the world still raises livestock for meat. Number 9. Nomadic floating cities are roaming the oceans. Many of the world's cities are becoming submerged due to rising sea levels. Despite some attempts to build flood defenses, even famous locations such as New York, London, Hong Kong, Shanghai, and Sydney have been affected. With over 10% of the world's population living on coastlines, hundreds of millions of people have been forced to migrate. Because of this, floating artificial islands are growing in popularity. These floating cities are entirely self-sufficient and able to cruise around the world indefinitely. They provide everything an average person needs for comfort, safety, and security. They also offer virtual reality suites, state-of-the-art Android servants and companions, swimming pools, landing pads for flying personal vehicles, and more. These giant amphibious ships are especially popular in Southeast Asia, which has been hit especially hard by the effects of climate change. Some of the largest of these floating cities have upwards of 100,000 plus residents. These settlements are entirely carbon neutral. Power is produced from a combination of solar arrays, offshore wind farms, and other means. Some of them even utilize fusion power. Food is grown and salt is removed from saltwater in these cities. In 2100, significant technological advancements are changing the world forever. For example, humans are able to merge with artificial superintelligence. Humans have been able to use AI with technologies such as brain-computer interfaces, nanobots, and virtual assistants for decades. However, biological brains are now 100% compatible with software, which opens up unprecedented possibilities. It's now possible to connect our brains with a superintelligent AI and make ourselves a million times more intelligent. This AI can guide us throughout everyday life and help us to instantly make optimal decisions regardless of the situation. All we have to do is give it our primary life objectives and the objectives we would like to achieve for each type of scenario, and it does the rest. With this technology, we can view practically any situation as an advanced math problem that we can easily solve. We can see 50 or more steps ahead before taking any action. We can multiply our returns in stock and crypto markets by orders of magnitude. We can predict seemingly unpredictable scenarios hours or days before they occur. And we always know the best things to say for every situation. For example, using this technology, a politician could persuade non-enhanced people to do almost anything using only a few sentences. Some people are willing to let these AIs run on autopilot for hours at a time. But currently, this functionality is prohibited for safety reasons. The only bottlenecks for this technology are people's biological brains. Once synthetic brains become more common, the cognitive functions of humans could operate millions of times faster. From the perspective of someone in the early 2000s, this would result in humans being able to make a century of intellectual progress in 1 hour. Number 2, the hive mind and telepathy are becoming mainstream. In 2100, humans are able to connect to a global network where the thoughts of billions of people are made available. There are many names for this concept, including the hive mind, the global mind, and the brainternet. Anytime we want, we can connect to a global network where we can access the thoughts of millions or even billions of people at a time. This concept can help large groups of people achieve time-sensitive objectives with unparalleled unison and cooperation. Companies, nonprofits, and political organizations are exploring the use of this concept to facilitate more organized work. It's even possible to access the memories and emotions of other people in the cloud to experience them anytime you want. However, it's well known that if this hive mind concept becomes overused, it could lead to people losing a sense of independence and free will. Additionally, humans now have the ability to communicate with each other telepathically. This means that we can instantly share our thoughts, imagination, and emotions with people who are granted that information. This can lead to much more personal and honest conversations with loved ones and friends. However, there is the risk of sharing information that is potentially damaging or could lead to theft. Number 3. Hyper-personalized virtual realities are being built using brain data. Traditionally, metaverse companies built virtual worlds that appealed to certain demographics and released them to the public. Now, this concept has been taken to another level. It's now possible to use people's brain information to create full-dive virtual realities that are customized to fulfill their every desire. In this reality, all of their wishes and fantasies constantly come to life. Whatever can maximize their feelings of happiness, joy, and pleasure are projected to them non-stop. Users are like kings and queens in their personal realities. All of their opinions and values are constantly praised and validated by characters they interact with, and they can indulge in whatever fantasy they wish without even having to think about what they want. No interest, no matter how weird or niche, is ever denied in these realities, and people are never bored in these realities for a single second. More content is created in these realities than people are able to perceive. Other information, such as favorite books, movies, and video games, are also inputted into the software, enabling these realities to change their scenery and make them more personalized. Platforms are even being created where people can share their personalized experiences with others. These types of realities are even expected to become primary destinations for people who upload their consciousness to computers when that technology is made available. And this technology will become even more realistic in the far future and could have quantum level of detail. But on the flip side, virtual realities that offer completely opposite experiences are also possible now. These realities are able to constantly manifest people's greatest fears and other negative emotions. Some countries are considering using them as long-term punishment for criminals who commit the most heinous crimes. Number 4. Skills and knowledge can be downloaded to people's brains. In 2060, humans gained the ability to directly connect their brains to the internet using nanobots. This led to tremendous upgrades to memory recall, real-time decision-making, and predictions. Now, because of a vastly greater understanding of the human brain and new capabilities to merge it with software, it's possible to download skills and facts directly into a person's brain. When people download skills, those skills integrate with parts of the brain responsible for motor control. This allows those people to learn self-defense, become an expert in any sport, or be taught to operate any vehicle, all within a matter of seconds. When people download knowledge, that knowledge immediately integrates with parts of the brain responsible for memory and strategic planning. This allows those people to learn topics like computer science, biology, and history without ever picking up a textbook. This development is leading to the end of education in a traditional sense. Why read a book or take a class when you can instantly download that information to your brain? There are even cloud services that allow you to stream skills and knowledge directly from the cloud in real time. This technology can also vastly improve intelligence because it can instantly grant advanced knowledge and skills related to pattern recognition, logic, critical thinking, problem solving, and increased vocabulary. Because of these types of advancements in transhumanism over the last 4 decades, transhumans are thousands of years ahead in intellectual development compared to non-upgraded humans, and natural human thinking now possesses no advantage over computerized minds. A significant segment of the population still refuses to accept this type of technology, and the world appears too fast and strange for them from their increasingly limited perspective. This is creating a major division in society. Number 5. Floating cars and room temperature superconductors are mainstream. By 2100, room temperature superconductors are utilized in numerous industries and have transformed much of the world's infrastructure and road networks. The most noticeable innovation resulting from it is a variety of new hovering and flying vehicles that can glide effortlessly above the ground. In a city of today, it's common to witness floating cars, pods, and other vehicles gliding smoothly through the air. They float over a cushion of magnetism and they're powered by wireless energy transmitted from pads embedded in the ground. Outside a building, it's becoming increasingly common to see a parked car floating stationary in the air. Even the building itself may incorporate structures, signs, or architectural elements that float above the ground. Car accidents are decreasing year after year because floating cars can adjust their altitudes when near pedestrians and simply glide above them. Incidents of roadkill are also being reduced, which used to account for millions of animal deaths per year. Some of the wealthiest and most high-tech districts have already upgraded their entire road networks to cater to levitating vehicles. As more and more routes become available, being able to travel in 3 dimensions rather than 2 enables faster travel times. Room temperature superconductors are transforming numerous other areas. For example, lossless power transmission is now possible, which enables perfect transmission over huge distances. Superconducting wires can capture and store electricity indefinitely, which means battery degradation is no longer a problem. Computers, tablets, and other electronics can be made to run cooler, more efficiently, and with far less energy consumption. Compact nuclear fusion is now emerging, which is especially useful in space travel. High-end portable medical imaging is more efficient and is available in smaller form factors than ever before. And large-scale science facilities, such as particle accelerators, now need less energy and capital cost. Number 6. Memory, thought, and emotion editing is becoming mainstream. It's now possible to edit your memories, thoughts, and emotions using brain-computer interfaces and specialized software. This software is used in specialized medical clinics to prevent misuse. This is helpful for people who relive terrifying experiences and want to get rid of their flashbacks, and for people who repeatedly have thoughts that cause depression and anxiety. By using this technology, those flashbacks and thoughts and the emotions they trigger can be largely gone forever with just a few mouse clicks. It's possible to eliminate addictions forever using this technology. It's also possible to make yourself more motivated to achieve success in any endeavor, and you can eliminate any fear holding you back as well. Even the emotion of happiness can be programmed into someone's mind at reasonable levels. Number 7. Force fields are becoming mainstream. By 2100, a combination of several unique technologies stacked together in layers has led to a radical new form of invisible protective shielding. When activated, it provides an instant, near-impenetrable field that can withstand hits from most types of weaponry. The outer layer consists of a supercharged plasma window shaped into a dome or sphere by electromagnetic fields. This is hot enough to vaporize most incoming metals. A secondary layer underneath contains millions of curved laser beams, producing a high-energy web that captures projectiles fast or powerful enough to bypass the plasma window. A third layer consists of a mesh made from trillions of carbon nanotubes. These 3 layers are able to protect against a majority of bullets, bombs, and projectiles. However, they're almost useless against lasers. A fourth and final layer takes care of this problem. This final layer uses photochromatic particles, which change their properties when exposed to laser light. These particles neutralize most types of energy blasts. In addition to war zones, These multi-layered force fields are used in a variety of other situations. National borders are starting to use this technology in hotspots, and they're more secure as a result. Corporate and luxury venues owned by the rich are increasingly using force fields as protection. A number of satellites are being fitted with this technology to withstand impacts with other objects. Farther in the future, this technology could be used to produce some of the most effective shields and body armor that the world has ever seen. However, there could still be a chance of being injured by shock waves from large projectiles and explosions. Number 8. Femtoengineering is now possible. In 2100, technology on the scale of quadrillionths of a meter has recently emerged. This is 3 orders of magnitude smaller than pico technology and 6 orders of magnitude smaller than nanotechnology. Engineering at this scale involves working directly with the finest known structures of matter, such as quarks and strings, to manipulate the properties of atoms. This development is a further step towards the teleportation of objects visible to the naked eye. Significant breakthroughs in force field generation are already resulting from this technology, and developments regarding anti-gravity might benefit from it as well. Another area that will see major progress is in materials technology. Metals will be produced which are capable of withstanding enormous pressures and heat. For example, we could create probes capable of traveling into the sun, and tunneling machines that can penetrate the Earth's crust into the layers of magma beneath. Longer term, this development will pave the way for interstellar ships that can withstand the massive forces involved in light-speed travel. Other more exotic materials are becoming possible, including transparent metals, highly luminous metals, frictionless surfaces, and ultra-dense but extremely lightweight structures. As with many areas of science, femtoengineering is being guided by advanced AIs, which are now trillions upon trillions of times more powerful than human intelligence. Additionally, this technology will enable self-replicating nanobots to replace any type of matter imaginable, including biological organisms, and spread throughout any area relatively quickly. This is an effective way to infuse any environment with computronium, which is a form of programmable matter that can perform computation that users can wirelessly control. Number 9. Personal health pods are commonplace for the upper class. In 2100, many functions previously performed in clinical settings can be automated and supplied to patients in their homes. Full body scanners that can provide a wide range of diagnoses and treatments are now a common household appliance for wealthy individuals. These devices are also available in medical clinics where most people are able to pay to use them. Personal health pods come in a variety of form factors, but typically consist of a cylindrical capsule about 6.5 feet in size. The user either stands or lies down for the procedure, which takes a matter of seconds. Cameras with sub-nanometer precision obtain images at trillions of frames per second, panning from head to toe while tracking and adjusting for even the slightest movement. Every region of the body undergoes real-time 3D analysis. Each region is pinged for any high-risk changes or abnormalities since the previous scan to determine spots that need further attention. A summary is then provided to the user, ranked in order of severity. For simple health problems, this machine can recommend a drug or other medication. For issues that require surgery, treatment can be provided by robotic arms, robotic tools, lasers, or nanobots. Nanobots can be injected and then guided with a combination of magnets and their own tiny motors. For a transhuman individual who may already have extensive implants and upgrades, many of these remedies may be unnecessary. For the most part, treatment of illnesses that were once life-threatening is now relatively routine. In later decades, a further adoption of these health pods, along with new advances in science, could lead to cancer deaths being largely eliminated in most countries. Number 10. Large-scale arcologies are emerging as an alternative to traditional cities. By 2100, environmental issues and resource depletion has forced humanity to drastically readdress the way urban areas are designed, and cities have already become increasingly dense and self-contained in Northern Europe, Russia, Canada, and Western Antarctica. As a result, arcologies have begun to emerge. Each of these arcologies can condense an entire city into one massive structure. These towers are some of the largest structures ever built. They can cover a few miles in girth and are typically 1 mile in height. This scale of engineering has been made possible with the use of carbon nanotubes that can cope with the massive forces involved. The sheer size and strength of arcologies makes them virtually immune to earthquakes, hurricanes, and other disasters. Each of these self-contained structures holds everything it needs for human survival. Automation is ubiquitous in these structures, with intelligent robots managing almost all construction and maintenance, and energy is provided by solar panels embedded on their exteriors, along with wind turbines surrounding the structures. Highly efficient transport systems are located throughout these structures to move travelers horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. And this kind of hyperdense urban environment allows movement around a city at speeds unheard of in previous centuries. In 2200, significant technological advancements are changing the world forever. For example, mind uploading has become mainstream. For several decades, the average person has had access to special clinics where they can transfer a copy of their consciousness from their physical brain to a machine. That is because human brains became 100% compatible with software shortly beforehand. With this procedure, billions of nanobots are inserted into a person's brain capillaries, and every single electrical pattern from each brain region is copied. The electrical patterns are transferred to a computer program that contains an artificial brain with duplicate brain structures to accept this information. After this procedure, a version of the person wakes up as a computer program and undergoes a series of tests to make sure the upload was successful. This entire process can take hours or days. Most people typically have the option to transfer their consciousness to a virtual body in a realistic simulation. However, the wealthiest individuals have another option. That's because synthetic human bodies and brains are now a reality. It's now possible to construct entire synthetic bodies along with synthetic brains that can be transplanted into those bodies. On the outside, they're often indistinguishable from real human bodies. Synthetic bodies are able to have higher strength, stamina, speed, and agility than normal biological bodies. And depending on how they're customized, they are able to survive in some of the harshest environments in the solar system. For example, a person with a high-end synthetic body can freely walk around on the surface of Mars without a spacesuit. There are also relatively cheap synthetic bodies with visibly mechanical parts that are more affordable for people in the middle class. Synthetic brains are far superior to biological brains in every way imaginable. They're able to compute up to millions or billions of times faster than biological brains. From the perspective of someone in the early 2000s, the most advanced type of synthetic brain can make a century of intellectual progress in less than 1 second. There are varying levels of computational power and memory for each type of synthetic brain, and they're sold at varying price levels. However, a significant percentage of the population view this technology as immoral and blasphemous. With each passing year, there's an increasing divide between those who want to enhance themselves and those who prefer to reject this type of technology. Number 3. Virtual simulations now have quantum level of detail. These simulations are the next step of evolution after the metaverse and full immersion virtual reality. Every conceivable detail of these realities look and feel exactly like real life. They're capable of being very similar to the simulation from the movie The Matrix. For example, every object and even the air are now comprised of individual molecules and atoms. Physical forces such as gravity, electricity, magnetism, air resistance, and more now function the same in these simulations as they do in real life. Organisms can grow and reproduce just like in real life, and every possible physical sensation, including eating, swimming, and playing sports, feels exactly like real life. These simulations are so realistic that if an average person was connected to one of them without consent and left in it for many years, that person would be 100% convinced that all of it is real. There are lifelike simulations for multiple time periods, including the 1800s, the late 1900s, and an interpretation of the year 3000. These realistic simulations are increasingly being used as destinations for people who upload their minds to computers. Number 4. Invisibility suits are now possible. Researchers have created a cloth that can make anyone who wears it invisible. It's considered a metamaterial that can alter how light bends, and it alters the movement of light throughout various parts of the material. Users wearing these suits are able to use their thoughts to toggle the invisibility. Intelligence and law enforcement agencies could use this technology to infiltrate restricted areas. Innovations in heat signature suppression and sound wave redirection allow spies to go into more areas than ever before without being detected. In the near future, this technology will be applied to a wide range of physical objects. An area of particular interest is the potential to make a synthetic human body comprised of nanobots that allow users to toggle invisibility. Number 5. Artificial gravity is now possible. With the help of advanced artificial intelligence, scientists have discovered how to generate artificial gravity fields. This was made possible by creating a stable form of neutral antimatter that falls upward instead of downward when close to a massive gravitational source, such as the Earth. This type of matter has a negative gravitational mass instead of a positive gravitational mass, like most types of matter. Because of this discovery, engineers are able to create a spacecraft with a ceiling containing this antimatter and a floor containing normal matter. This creates an artificial gravity field that always pulls people and objects downward from their frame of reference. This artificial gravity field would also protect everyone inside a spacecraft if it achieves rapid acceleration that would otherwise prove lethal. In the future, this concept could be used to create suspensor belts that allow people and objects to float in mid-air. We could also produce aircraft that can quickly change their altitudes in ways that would be considered unnatural from the perspective of someone in the early 2000s. Another method of creating artificial gravity involves spinning an entire spacecraft or parts of that spacecraft around a central axis. The centrifugal force from this spinning motion creates a downward force at the outer edges of the spacecraft that can simulate the gravitational force humans experience on Earth. Number 6. High-tech automated cities are being built. By 2150, cities were already substantially closer to what science fiction authors envisioned in previous centuries. Floating cars are now extremely common to see on the roads. They float silently on cushions of magnetism created by room temperature superconducting pavement. They rarely need refuels since there's almost no friction to slow them down as they travel. The external appearances of buildings can morph and change shape because of their claytronic surfaces. Advertisements in the form of 3D holograms are extremely commonplace. Electricity is passed wirelessly from building to building. Cameras and sensors are everywhere, and they can track the footsteps, body movements, and facial expressions of every person and instantly identify those people. Even the internal biological states of humans can be monitored, such as their neural activity and pulse, which can give clues about their immediate intentions. Android police can be summoned instantly because robotic officers now appear to grow out of the ground. This is made possible through the use of claytronics and nanobots embedded into buildings, roads, and sidewalks. Worker robots now outnumber humans even in downtown areas that would have been typically crowded with cars and people in earlier times. This is partly because people of today spend the majority of their time connected to virtual environments, which are many orders of magnitude more interesting than real life. Not only that, building surfaces, windows, and roofs are completely resistant to dirt, bacteria, and graffiti, and they can self-repair in the event of damage. The coatings for these buildings are often applied to cars and other vehicles as well. And roads and pavements are made of special materials that can clean themselves and absorb trash. Number 7. Holodeck cities are now a reality. In the early 2000s, supercomputers used a simulation technique called lattice quantum chromodynamics to perform calculations by dividing space-time into a 4-dimensional grid. Initially, it was only possible to simulate an area that was slightly larger than the nucleus of an atom. But as supercomputers and quantum computers reached higher and higher computational levels, it became possible to simulate larger volumes of space-time. By the 2070s, it was possible to simulate a complete virus with absolute accuracy down to the smallest known quantum units. In the early 2100s, entire brain scans were perfected and simulated at the quantum level. Soon afterwards, the entire human body and entire rooms could be perfectly simulated. In 2200, entire cities can be constructed using quantum units as their building blocks. These cities are enclosed in 4-dimensional grids, and they're effectively miniature universes that are fully programmable and controllable. These holodeck cities are also accessible using VR devices as well. Although the physical space for a holodeck is limited in size, as users traverse through it, the floor moves so that the visual environment changes and appears considerably larger than it really is. Number 8. Uploaded minds are being transmitted to other planets. It's now possible to send copies of human minds on laser beams between planets and moons. Putting a copy of a mind on a laser isn't too much of a technical problem, since lasers can hold an almost unlimited amount of information. A network of relay stations have been built throughout the inner solar system. Each station is able to receive those laser beams, amplify them, and send them to the subsequent stations. These laser beams travel between the relay stations at light speed. Relay stations have been placed on stationary comets instead of moons, since moons orbit around planets and are often obscured by those planets. Laser cells are used to transport self-replicating nanobots to those comets. Those nanobots then use the surface materials on those comets to physically make the relay stations. On the Moon, Mars, and Titan, there are robots and synthetic bodies waiting for those lasers, and they will activate once human minds are uploaded to them. As humans begin to explore other star systems, this will likely become the preferred method of transportation for people who have transcended beyond their biological bodies. Number 9. Probes are reaching neighboring star systems. By 2150, a wide variety of probes to neighboring star systems have successfully reached their destinations. The fastest of these probes can now reach speeds that are moderately close to light speed, and they require only a few decades of travel time. As a comparison, space probes from a century earlier would have taken many thousands of years to reach these stars. A variety of different engine systems are being built, such as antimatter, nuclear pulse propulsion, and other experimental methods. These probes have cone-shaped force fields that protect them from incoming debris, and programmable matter is used to slightly change the shape of these probes to reduce the numbers of collisions with hydrogen atoms in space. After traveling for trillions of miles, the majority of them successfully reached their destinations. They're returning a treasure trove of data and visual information from planets and moons of other solar systems. Additionally, they're providing images of Earth and the solar system from light years away, providing a new perspective of humanity and its place in the universe. Number 10. Large-scale civilian settlements on the moon are now a reality. Dozens of permanent moon colonies have been established. Large self-assemblers using nanotechnology enable these settlements to be constructed in a matter of hours or days. Most of these settlements are concentrated in the southern polar region of the moon, which has greater access to water. Advances in genetic engineering, cybernetic implants, and synthetic bodies allow humans to be fully adapted to the gravity of the moon. But to take this a step further, artificial gravity is starting to be used in some facilities so that humans experience gravity on the moon that is similar to the gravity on Earth. A very large telescope is also operational for long-distance astronomical observations. The lack of an atmosphere and other conditions gives it a tremendous advantage over Earth-based telescopes. Lava tunnels under the lunar surface are filled with entire cities containing many millions of people and their robot companions. In some of the largest and deepest caverns, the lunar conditions allow for a number of gigantic science experiments. For example, neutrino detectors are being built at scales and efficiencies that far surpass the ones on Earth. These experiments are confirming profound insights about scientific phenomena that were first discovered by artificial superintelligences decades ago. Because of limited space on Earth to house data centers and supercomputers, the moon is now being utilized for this purpose. Formerly separate cave systems are now interconnected, forming hyperfast computer networks across a significant portion of the moon's surface and subsurface. In 2300, significant technological advancements are changing the world forever. For example, superhuman powers are now possible. By this point, technologies like nanotechnology, room temperature superconductors, anti-gravity, force fields, and programmable matter have exponentially evolved to levels that are unimaginable to people from earlier centuries. Some humans have already uploaded their minds to synthetic bodies that allow them to achieve practical immortality. With the help of the most high-tech synthetic human bodies and synthetic brains, individuals are now capable of having powers that would be considered superhuman and inconceivable by 21st century standards. Depending on what technologies people have access to, they can turn themselves invisible, morph into another person entirely, stretch their limbs to twice their length, and levitate from ground level to the roof of a skyscraper in seconds. They can heal a wounded person just by touching them, read thoughts and emotions, extract recent memories from people's minds, and lift objects weighing thousands of tons. They can see through walls, view individual atoms with the naked eye, use telescopic vision to see distant astronomical objects, hear a whisper from miles away, determine the precise chemical composition of something just by tasting, touching, or smelling it. And they have the capability to constantly observe everything around them because of microscopic cameras distributed throughout their body that can view the entire electromagnetic spectrum. They can sprint at lightning speed, survive after walking on molten lava, never require sleep, and survive indefinitely without food and water because their skin can absorb solar and vibrational energy from the environment around them. Number 2. Humanity is a Type 1 civilization on the Kardashev scale. The Kardashev scale is a method of measuring a civilization's level of technological advancement based on the amount of energy it's able to use. A Type 1 civilization is able to harness all of the energy on its home planet and harness all of the energy that reaches its home planet from its neighboring star. By 2250, virtually all of the Earth's natural energy was already harnessed or captured. Solar, wind, hydroelectric, and geothermal technologies are being used to create huge amounts of energy using vast amounts of Earth's land, water, and atmosphere. Fusion and antimatter are used to create vast amounts of energy. Additionally, entirely new forms of energy production that were unknown in previous centuries are being utilized. In Earth's orbit, there is now a comprehensive network of energy-capturing vessels. These vessels are organized in such a way that they harvest every ounce of incoming solar radiation being reflected back into space from Earth. Each vessel acts as a node within a gigantic web that completely encircles the planet. An invisible shield is formed between the nodes, and it absorbs solar radiation from every corner of the globe. Additionally, this invisible shield has the added benefit of stabilizing the Earth's climate. This shield is able to be adjusted at certain points around the Earth to control the amount of heat passing through from the sun. As a result, rain is able to fall wherever and whenever it is needed, while hurricanes and tornadoes can be easily controlled. This vast amount of energy now available to humans is creating enormous wealth, prosperity, and technological advancement. And because of this increased amount of energy, along with state-of-the-art replicator machines, almost all material needs are virtually eliminated. From this point forward, the only way for human civilization to gain more energy is to harvest directly from the sun and expand outward into space. Number 3. Teleportation is now available to the mainstream public. When a person is using a synthetic body comprised of nanobots, they now have the ability to transport to another location that is many miles away without traversing physical space. This is made possible by having teleporter machines at 2 locations that are wirelessly connected with each other. Whenever a teleportation occurs, the physical arrangement of nanobots and consciousness of a person are shared with the receiving teleportation machine. It's also possible to transport other physical objects as well. However, it's considered controversial to transport biological organisms since transporters require the destruction of the original versions of organisms. Number 4. Life has been found on another planet. Because of probes equipped with antimatter propulsion, dozens of neighboring star systems have been explored. After surveying thousands of planets, automated probes discovered a one-celled organism within 100 light-years of our solar system. As expected, this life form reproduces using binary fission. Its internal chemical structure is strikingly similar to DNA. This might indicate that this form of life is quite common throughout the universe. The planet that it lives on contains liquid water, and its distance from its star makes it habitable for life. Its star system also includes gas giants in the outer regions, which offer protection from incoming comets. Number 5. Humans now live in other solar systems. Thanks to our ability to travel at near the speed of light, interstellar travel is increasing greatly during this time. Settlements on planets of distant star systems are inhabited by thousands of humans and machines by now. Those star systems include Alpha Centauri, which is over 4 light-years away, Barnard's Star, which is about 6 light-years away, and Wolf 359, which is about 8 light-years away. Many of the spaceships on these journeys are operated by beings with artificial general intelligence or superintelligence, but a small percentage contain human pilots. These human pilots are typically transhumans who have heavily modified bodies and brains. In fact, their bodies might be entirely synthetic. These humans are much better equipped to cope with long journeys than natural, non-upgraded humans. These transhumans are also much more likely to survive in harsh environments on other planets. Hibernation pods with connections to virtual reality experiences are utilized for trips that last for over several years. When spaceships containing humans arrive at these distant planets, programmable matter technology is used to construct various types of buildings on those planets relatively quickly. And by this point, the most distant exploratory spacecraft has reached over 50 light-years away from Earth. Number 6. Earth is able to be protected from asteroids. Dozens of lasers are being constructed on planets and moons throughout the solar system to stop an asteroid or comet from hitting Earth. In many situations, humans are able to detect a potential collision from an asteroid that is projected to happen months or even years into the future. When the lasers hit those asteroids, they slightly change the trajectory of those asteroids so that they have almost no possibility of hitting Earth. The earlier we can accomplish this after detecting a potential collision, the higher the chances of success. Number 7. The entire solar system is being inhabited by humans. Earth's moon is now the most heavily populated of all the space colonies. It has millions of permanent inhabitants. Mars has declared its independence from Earth. It's heavily populated with cities that are connected with a hyperfast automated rail network. A massive terraforming effort is also underway on both Mars and Venus. The asteroid mining sector now generates the most revenues for humans in the inner solar system. Thousands of asteroids are being mined at a time. Advances in nanotechnology and related fields enable these asteroids to be stripped literally atom by atom so that nothing goes to waste. More than several types of precious metals are harvested for use in high-tech industries. The largest asteroids, which are sometimes called minor planets, are being hollowed out, and their interiors are converted into enormous power plants, research stations, and settlements for humans. Jupiter is gaining a steady influx of prospectors, comprised mostly of heavily modified transhumans and sentient robots. It's also being siphoned for its vast supply of hydrogen and helium. A number of floating cities and gigantic refineries are beginning to appear in the upper atmosphere of Jupiter as well. Meanwhile, Jupiter's moons are being exploited for their metals, minerals, and ice. The rings of Saturn now have luxurious hotels orbiting around them, offering magnificent views of this massive gas giant. Guests are able to venture outside of these hotels and drift among the slowly moving ice and rock fragments in Saturn's rings. Saturn's largest moon, Titan, is now home to entire cities. Enceladus is another moon of Saturn, which contains an ocean of liquid salt water under its icy crust. It has great potential to serve as a water source for human civilizations in the outer solar system. Even the distant planets of Uranus and Neptune have gas miners now, and developments there are expected to dramatically increase over the next decades and centuries. Pluto and the Kuiper Belt are being exploited for minerals and ice as well. The Kuiper Belt is a region of the solar system beyond the orbit of Neptune, which contains over 1 trillion comets, asteroids, and other small objects made largely of ice. Lastly, much of the solar system is being turned into smart rocks with neural networks embedded throughout asteroids and on the surface of moons. This is allowing powerful artificial intelligences to handle large-scale scientific experiments and automated mining operations. Number 8. Moore's Law is reaching its physical limit. Today, a computing device with a weight of 2 to 3 pounds is able to perform calculations that are over 40 orders of magnitude greater than the best supercomputer 2 centuries earlier. That is because computer substrates are now reaching the highest density and efficiency allowed by the laws of physics. Artificial superintelligences made this possible by creating subatomic matrices at incredibly tiny scales. Diamond-like materials are now being incorporated, and they're able to encode information at over several orders of magnitude smaller than nanotechnology. One of the major issues that prevented this level of computational power in the past was heat management. Generating this level of computational power used to produce heat that was equivalent to a thermonuclear explosion in the early 2000s. However, new developments in physics eventually solved this challenge, as well as others. Number 9. Earth's ecosystems are being repaired. Human activity over the last couple of centuries led to catastrophic damage to natural habitats on Earth. During that time, half of the known species on Earth went extinct as a result of pollution, climate change, deforestation, mining, the construction of new cities, and more. Various wars, nuclear attacks, industrial accidents, and nanotechnology experiments also played a part in exterminating life in large parts of the world. However, by the early 2200s, it became possible to recreate those extinct animals and plants and bring them back to life. This involved using a combination of fossil records, DNA samples, computer models, and molecular engineering. Once these life forms were grown or reproduced in sufficient numbers, they were distributed back to their original native environments. They're now living as close as possible to how they lived prior to human interference. There are now strict laws prohibiting any harm to come to them as well. Additionally, entire deserts have been transformed back into forest with the use of artificial rain and other forms of weather control. Toxic lakes and rivers are being cleaned, and oceans are being deacidified, cooled, and made habitable once again for countless sea life. And many decades ago, android zoos entirely replaced biological zoos as part of an effort to treat biological animals more humanely. In the year 3000, humanity has reached an incredible level of technological advancement. For example, humanity is becoming a Type 2 civilization. A Type 2 civilization is able to harness the power of its entire neighboring star. In order to accomplish this, humanity is now building a Dyson sphere. This hollowed shell will be of such gigantic proportions that it could one day fully enclose the sun and capture all of its solar output. Under the direction of a godlike superintelligence, huge numbers of automated, self-replicating ships are building it using material from the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, the Kuiper Belt close to Pluto's orbit, and the Oort cloud, which is the most distant region of the solar system. This Dyson sphere will harvest more energy per second than was harvested in several centuries in the not-too-distant past. The interior walls will have a gravitational field similar to Earth's and will be comprised of entirely new states of matter that were unknown to science in previous centuries. These walls can withstand the immense tensile forces required to maintain structural integrity. This curved and unbelievably large surface is equivalent to millions of Earths. Portions of this sphere could be terraformed and given stable atmospheres, oceans, and land masses, and it could become a habitat for many sentient life forms, including biological humans, transhumans, clones, and androids. There are plans to construct Dyson spheres of varying sizes in nearby star systems as well. Additionally, when harvesting stellar material, humans will use a practice known as star lifting, which involves lowering the temperature of the sun and postponing its death by billions of years. Number 2. Over 100,000 Earth-like worlds have been occupied. At this point, a region of nearly 1,000 light-years in radius has been inhabited by humans. That represents about 2% of the length of the Milky Way galaxy. These Earth-like worlds include planets, moons, and asteroids that have the conditions to support biological life. Humans are well underway to becoming a galaxy-wide species. Number 3. Some humans are living for hundreds of years. Since the invention of digital immortality, some humans from the early 2100s are still alive. The majority of these humans are living in massive hyperrealistic simulations. Others are using synthetic and biological bodies created for them in the physical world. Some of the most powerful and wealthiest humans in the past used their immortality to run a series of multi-century business and government empires. They also created countless digital clones of themselves to oversee varying factions of their organizations. Number 4. An entire galaxy has been simulated. This simulated galaxy contains atoms and laws of physics that are very similar to our own universe. Civilizations are forming on planets and moons in this galaxy, and they're 100% convinced that their reality is real. Some of the most advanced civilizations have already invented telescopes to view distant astronomical objects in their simulation. To handle this, the simulation displays holographic images of distant galaxies to them. Some of the civilizations in the simulation are even on the verge of creating their first artificial general intelligence, placing them at the same level of technological development as humans in the early 2000s. Number 5. Biological organisms are able to be created in minutes. For some time now, it's been possible to create robots and synthetic bodies within minutes using advanced versions of nanotechnology and programmable matter. Now, it only takes minutes to replicate biological organisms using DNA databases and the necessary assortment of molecules. These organisms usually take the form of beings in simulations, holograms, and holodecks, so that humans are able to refine their appearances and behaviors before bringing them to the real world. It's even possible to create entirely new species by adjusting the parameters of biological features. Number 6. Mars has been terraformed. Well before the year 3000, Mars has been turned into a planet that's able to support a wide variety of animal and plant life. By the 2300s, frozen lakes and ponds were already beginning to form in some regions. This was followed by successful growing of the first mosses and lichen that were genetically adapted to withstand a harsher environment. Entire seas and oceans began to appear in the 2400s, along with the first trees, various plant species, and insects. A series of chain reactions and positive feedback loops began to accelerate this process even further. By the 2500s, a wide variety of animals were introduced, including fish, birds, reptiles, and mammals. Eventually, it was declared safe for non-enhanced, fully biological humans to walk on the surface of Mars without spacesuits. Humanity has created a second Earth. Number 7. Venus has been terraformed. Venus is now a habitable Earth-like planet. Its entire orbit was shifted further away from the Sun to bring it closer to the Goldilocks zone, where biological life is able to exist. This led to the average temperatures stabilizing at 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Additionally, its day and night cycle was accelerated from 117 days to 24 hours. Comets made of ice were redirected from the Oort cloud and the Kuiper belt. These comets were guided through the solar system and into the upper atmosphere of Venus, releasing vast quantities of water. Other techniques involved capturing and removing carbon dioxide in Venus's atmosphere. This was achieved by dispersing nanobots into the air. These nanobots absorbed carbon dioxide and other toxic gases and replaced them with breathable air. Venus now has multiple tropical oceans and 2 dominant land masses, along with a number of smaller subcontinents and islands. Humanity has created a third Earth. In the year 10,000, humanity has reached an incredible level of technological advancement. For example, 30% of the Milky Way has been inhabited by humans. At this point, humans have inhabited almost 1 million solar systems. Humans who venture outward throughout the galaxy typically use advanced synthetic bodies to endure these extremely long trips. The spaceships that they use are typically controlled by fully conscious artificial intelligences or the uploaded minds of enhanced humans. Each ship contains thousands of fertilized human eggs to populate planets, moons, and asteroids that are able to support life. Fertilized eggs for other species and seeds for plant life are also included in these ships to aid with developing ecosystems as needed. Number 2. Ring cities are now orbiting some planets to meet growing population needs. Flat metal structures with cities on top of them now orbit a small number of planets. Advanced versions of nanotechnology and genetic engineering of food are able to keep these cities largely self-sustaining. These ring cities contain sections that differ from each other culturally based on how far away they are from each other. These cities also double as processing and distribution centers for spacecraft and other space equipment. Number 3. Many alien species have been discovered. By now, a high number of semi-intelligent species have been found. Furthermore, ancient ruins have been discovered on some worlds, which indicate that advanced civilizations once existed but somehow failed or destroyed themselves a long time ago. Millions of other planets have been discovered to have thriving ecosystems that support animals, plants, and other life. Many of the organisms being documented are small and insect-like in appearance. However, a small percentage of these organisms are more intelligent than higher mammals, such as dolphins, monkeys, and cats. Organisms that resemble the octopus species have been found to exhibit impressive levels of intelligent behavior as well. Number 4. Humans are living for thousands of years. By the year 10,000 AD, many humans have been alive for thousands of years. The majority of these humans are either living in massive hyper-realistic simulations or they're using synthetic bodies in the real world. Because they've lived so long beyond their biological bodies, many of their personalities and values no longer resemble that of their former selves in any observable manner. Number 5. The Milky Way galaxy is being infused with intelligence. For thousands of years, self-replicating probes have been sent to moons in millions of solar systems. Their purpose is to scan solar systems throughout the Milky Way and send useful information back to Earth and other planets indefinitely. These probes are sent to moons because the environments of moons are typically more stable than planets. They usually have no atmosphere, no wind, and no water, and they're easy to enter and leave because of their low gravity. Each probe is powered by solar energy. Each probe also contains a compartment of an advanced version of computronium, which is a form of programmable matter. This matter is comprised of intelligent, self-replicating nanobots that are capable of converting regular matter into more copies of itself. As a result, humans now have an unimaginable large network of small computers that can communicate with each other and share data. Each gram of this material is trillions upon trillions of times more powerful than all biological human brains combined in the early 2000s. After landing on moons, each probe creates a factory using lunar material and manufactures 1,000 copies of itself. Each probe in the second generation is then sent to more moons. If each of these probes in the second generation creates 1,000 more probes, there would be a total of 1,000,000 probes, then 1,000,000,000, then 1,000,000,000,000, and so forth. Number 6. Traditional computer science is reaching its ultimate potential. The biological and technological descendants of humanity are attaining the perfection of computer science after thousands of years of theoretical and practical testing. All of the knowledge required for every permutation of hardware and software is now available. New applications can be instantly created in real time with zero errors. From this point forward, the vast majority of traditional computer science, as we know it, will be considered obsolete as a field of study. Number 7. The grand unification theory has been proven. The grand unification theory is a model of particle physics in which, at high energies, the electromagnetic, weak, and strong forces are merged into a single source. For many years, many people believed that these forces were merged together in the brief period of time before the Big Bang occurred. By 5000 AD, a particle accelerator covering the entire perimeter of our solar system had been built. It became the largest science experiment in history. It was powerful enough to accelerate particles to a state known as grand unification energy, allowing the very earliest moments of the universe to be simulated. The electromagnetic, weak, and strong nuclear forces were viewed for the first time at precisely the same strength and effectively became different aspects of a single force. In this experiment, quarks and electrons became the same as well and achieved another form of unification. These developments could lead to a greater understanding of the theory of everything, which is a hypothetical framework explaining all known physical phenomena in the universe. In 1,000,000 years, humanity has reached an incredible level of technological advancement. For example, most humans have abandoned their physical bodies. As a species, Homo sapiens continued to evolve over time. This has led to an increase in cranial size, taller heights, less hair, longer limbs, a more robust and capable immune system, and an increased lifespan. However, purely biological and non-cyborg humans are increasingly rare now. They have basic rights and they're free to travel anywhere they want, but they have practically zero influence in any governmental systems on Earth or elsewhere. They're now completely subservient to AIs, enhanced humans, and other entities that are now trillions of times more intelligent and powerful than they are. The vast majority of humans abandoned their biological forms a long time ago. They made the transition to machines, synthetic bodies, virtual entities, and other forms never conceived of in the past. The entire Milky Way galaxy has been explored by these transhumans and their sentient ships. For a long time now, humans have been able to have their uploaded minds transported between planets on laser beams. There are now laser porting superhighways between planets and stars, allowing trillions of humans to travel at a time. At each destination, there are synthetic and robotic bodies waiting for these uploaded human minds. Additionally, these lasers are able to transport through wormholes and quickly arrive at distant parts of the universe. Number 2. Multiple wormholes have been created. It's now possible to create wormholes and manipulate the fabric of space-time at will. Wormholes require a tremendous amount of energy to create. For that reason, we needed to build a large particle accelerator that is the size of the asteroid belt around the Sun. This particle accelerator is able to generate Planck energy, which is a type of energy that was essential in the Big Bang. This energy was able to be directed at a single point in space to create the first wormhole. Because of this new capability, humanity is able to explore some of the furthest regions of the universe that were previously impossible to reach, and then return to report their findings. Number 3. Spaceships are able to travel faster than the speed of light. Faster than light travel is now possible using Alcubierre drives, which are compact and miniaturized enough to be found in even personal spacecraft designed for one passenger. Alcubierre drives use such colossal amounts of power that they cause the fabric of space in front of a ship to contract, while the space behind the ship expands. This technology is allowing high numbers of humans to travel to other parts of the universe, including neighboring and distant galaxies. Number 4. Humanity is a Type 3 civilization on the Kardashev scale. A Type 3 civilization is able to extract exotic energy, information, and raw materials from its entire galaxy. At this stage, humanity and its descendants are able to harness the energy released from Sagittarius A, which is the supermassive black hole at the center of our Milky Way galaxy. This type of civilization could also tap into the energy from millions of smaller black holes throughout the galaxy. Taking energy from a black hole involves siphoning energy from the centrifugal and spinning force of those black holes. This process involves building gigantic spheres of mirrors to almost entirely enclose these black holes. Next, we shoot energy into those spheres, let that energy spin and bounce around in those spheres, and then release that energy so that we can use it. The amount of energy we siphon from supermassive black holes could last for trillions of years, and this amount of energy is able to help us create technological advancements that are beyond the imagination of past generations. This includes building billions of Dyson spheres and the ability to create black holes, stars, and planets. This approach and similar approaches are being used to siphon energy from millions of stars, gamma-ray bursts, and the emissions from quasars. Number 5. Full control of gravitational waves is becoming possible. Humans now have the ability to generate gravitational waves by manipulating space-time and creating new gravitational sources. Space-time can also be bended outward to repel all objects around a region of space. This is partly made possible because humans are able to manipulate matter at the Planck scale, which was long believed to be the universe's minimum unit of measurement. Additionally, we have the ability to use gravitational waves to communicate. Gravity waves are able to spread across solar systems and galaxies at extremely long distances. Gravity waves have an advantage over light waves because laser beams tend to scatter and diffuse as they travel. Number 6. Planet-sized computers are starting to dominate our galaxy. Planet-sized computers are being constructed throughout the entire Milky Way galaxy. A high percentage of planets, comets, moons, and asteroids considered uninhabitable are being converted into these machines to form a vast network that is 100,000 light-years across space. Each computer is capable of instant communication with each other regardless of distance. That is because quantum entanglement is used to transfer communication signals and energy. It's also possible to harness the power of newly discovered subparticles for computer communication. As a result, communications are able to pass through planets and other dense matter without touching a single atom. These particles use space-time itself as a medium and can travel faster than the speed of light. These forms of communication and energy transmission are undetectable to less advanced civilizations. Number 7. The universe is being infused with computronium. Intelligent, self-replicating nanobots are being transported through wormholes to the furthest regions of the Milky Way galaxy. They are also being sent throughout dozens of other galaxies in the Virgo supercluster, which also contains our galaxy. As the universe itself becomes more intelligent, humans may gain the capability to manipulate events on the scale of the Big Bang. If humans survive long enough, we may even gain access to what might exist outside of the universe. In a billion years, humanity has reached an incredible level of technological advancements. For example, humans are now using millions of wormholes because of particle accelerators the size of asteroid belts. There are now multiple wormholes that are able to take us to other parts of the universe, including some of the most distant galaxies. As a result, humans and their robotic probes have explored millions of galaxies and billions of planets and moons. Wormhole hubs have been constructed in each galaxy in which multiple wormholes are grouped together that connect to destinations with varying distances. Number 2. Humans are able to enter other universes. Humans are able to create wormholes to enter younger universes that aren't expanding as dangerously fast as our universe. These universes are parallel to ours and have similar laws of physics. These universes also have much lower amounts of dark energy. As a result, they expand enough to cool down and allow habitable planets to form. But they don't expand so fast that galaxies, stars, and planets become too far apart from each other. Humans are able to travel through wormholes and hyperspace to other universes in the form of pure energy. Additionally, an enormous amount of energy is able to be harvested from these other universes. This surplus energy enables abilities and technologies that would be considered magic to a Type 1 civilization. For example, when visiting and studying less advanced alien civilizations, this technology allows users to walk through walls, operate aircraft at unnatural velocities, disappear and reappear at will, and manipulate the physical characteristics of any object using only one's thoughts. From the perspective of these less advanced aliens, these are paranormal activities that defy their most logical understanding of physics. Number 3. Black hole computers are becoming more common. A long time ago, computers reached their optimal computational efficiency. At that point, the only way to increase their computational power was to increase their mass. If we increase a computer's mass enough, its gravitational force becomes strong enough to cause it to collapse into a black hole. It's for that reason that a black hole could be considered the ultimate computer. It's now possible to create well-organized black holes that are able to perform levels of computation that have never been seen before. This is made possible because when a particle is emitted from a black hole, it remains quantum entangled with its corresponding antiparticle that has disappeared into the black hole. If an antiparticle inside a black hole becomes involved in a useful computation, then these results will be encoded in the state of its tangled partner particle outside of the black hole. Likewise, other types of computers are now larger than the size of planets and stars. Some of them are so large and powerful they have to be placed in hyperspace, which is a form of multidimensional space that exists outside of our universe. Trillions of human minds are merged with these computers to enable unimaginable intelligence levels. Number 4. The expansion of the universe is being reversed in some regions of space. The universe is expanding, and that expansion is accelerating exponentially. In fact, space is expanding faster than the speed of light. As the universe continues expanding at this rate, a hypothetical phenomenon called the Big Rip could occur. This is when galaxies, stars, and planets become so far apart from each other that biological life can no longer benefit from the solar rays of nearby stars. This is a major threat to humanity. Since humans are able to harness extragalactic dark energy, they're able to manipulate the extra dimensions revealed by string theory. And they're beginning to create a gigantic sphere where dark energy can reverse polarity so that the cosmic expansion is reversed. Outside the sphere, the universe might continue expanding exponentially, but inside the sphere, the galaxies and stars evolve normally. This sphere can almost be looked at as a Dyson sphere that traps dark energy inside. Number 5. Humans are capable of creating small universes. Humans can now create the conditions to cause big bangs and create small universes in hyperspace. Hypothetically, if someone was close enough to these big bangs, they would detect the shock waves in our universe. In these universes, all known microscopic elements at or below the Planck scale are controllable and infused with intelligence. Some of these universes are parallel to each other and are starting to contain multiple levels of simulations. Thanks for watching. Make sure to watch this next video about future technologies.